para po lahat po ng ating mga inputs or questions later on ay maririnig po natin straight from you, okay? And also at this time, while we await for the others to join us here in Zoom, we request everyone to rename your identification to first your agency underscore and then your name. Okay, so you can be duly recognized later on. Once again, please rename your Zoom identification to agency underscore and then your name. And if you have issues using the Zoom or YouTube platform, please inform us using the chat box. Yung chat box po natin dito sa Zoom ay makikita po natin sa baba, dito sa mga icons. We also have some reaction icons there where later on, pag sabihin ng ating mga resource persons to react, you can always use our reaction button over there. Okay? Dito sa ating reaction, we can see clap, thumbs up, there's a laugh reaction, there's a surprise reaction, heart, and celebration. So however you like to express yourself later on, please feel free to use these reactions. And if you have issues using Zoom or YouTube platform, please inform us using the chat box. And our project staff, Mr. Daniel Navarro, will be glad to assist you. Hello, Daniel. Good afternoon. And also, Mr. Pedrito Garcia is with us here on Zoom. He will be the one to assist all of us. For those of our participants who are joining us today via the YouTube platform. Hello, Sir Peds. Good afternoon to you. And please kindly fill out the Google form attendance sheet at the link shown in the screen and also at the chat or comment boxes. The information you provide in the attendance sheet will serve as one of the references for your e-certificates of attendance. Please take note that this symposium is being recorded. Rest assured that the DAP fully recognizes the value of your personal and your organization's information. Upon joining this symposium, you acknowledge and agree that your information may be used by the Academy for its documentation and/or publicity materials following legal and regulatory standards for data protection. Thank you. In the meantime, while we await for our other colleagues in government to join us in this symposium this afternoon, let us all together just watch this DAP video for us to get to know better what is the Development Academy of the Philippines all about. Okay, let's all together watch this.
After 45 years, the Development Academy of the Philippines has much to be proud of. From its small but ambitious beginnings in 1973, the DAP has grown even beyond its founding fathers' vision and expectations. Over the years, the DAP was led by these men and women whose values, passion, and innovative ideas have greatly contributed to its growth. Their competent leadership laid the foundation for the DAP's place in history. Initially, the DAP was created to train career executive service officers in government. Later, the mandate has also included strategic and policy-oriented research and idea generation, in essence being the think tank for the government. It was a good connection. What started out as small ideas have today become institutions in themselves. They were innovations that identified needs and offered solutions, and which now continue to serve the public in many different ways. The DAP's early training and education programs for government executives were also unique and legendary. They can largely be credited for a bureaucracy that has remained professional, competent, neutral, even through numerous administration changes. The DAP also contributed to national productivity and introduced the concept of wiser use of resources for better results. It was instrumental in helping local governments rise above the disasters that hit them. Today, with its cutting-edge training and education programs, the DAP not just develops high-potential executives and managers, it is also molding transformative leaders in the public sector. Leaders who are quietly and efficiently responding to people's needs.
We need to open up our graduate school to visiting professors from abroad and also to take advantage of the technical experts coming from the APO countries of which we are a member.
The DAP continues to help the government become more effective by pushing for the results-based performance management system, which ensures that the President's vision and goals for the country are implemented correctly. In 2015, the Philippines was recognized by the APO as the Center of Excellence for Public Sector Productivity, mainly because of the programs built to streamline processes and make service client-focused. Eventually, the public can expect shorter lines and quicker service. While keeping a low profile and being content to work in the background, the DAP remains relevant and sensitive to the public's needs and expectations.
DAP as a knowledge institution is a solutions provider. DAP as an institution is exactly what our bureaucracy needs at this time. An institution that creates the best ideas for our bureaucracy to work. And that is exactly what we need in governance. Unless there is such an institution, we do not expect change to come automatically.
After 45 years, DAP's founding fathers must really be smiling.
Ayan. So for those of us who are not yet so familiar and who doesn't know yet the DAP or the Development Academy of the Philippines, that is who we are and that is what we do for the nation. And ladies and gentlemen, the presentation materials and other session details like the speaker's profile may be viewed in the Google Classroom. The link to this platform was included in our confirmation email that was sent to you. But for easy reference, kindly check the Zoom and YouTube chat box for the link. You may use the hashtag SQS2021 when uploading your photos on social media. And during our Q&A portion later on, we request all those who will be raising questions to please raise your hands to be properly acknowledged. And more importantly, we'd like to see your beautiful and handsome faces. So please turn your cameras on later on when your bandwidth permits. And for those who are not yet familiar about the Government Quality Management Program or the GQMP, let's all together watch this video.
What do people actually expect from the government?
It's a government that listens to its people. It's all about lakas, talino at buhay.
Would be one that would have more of government, less of governance, that would have the welfare of the Filipino people as is primordial concern.
A government that has a very clear vision.
Para sa akin, ang gobyerno, dapat lahat ng kawani ay lingkod bayan.
Passionate about its vision and responsive to the needs of its people and country as a whole.
My idea government is very trustworthy, government that you can rely on, may malasakit sa kapwa mong mamamayan.
Ambisyon Natin 2040 reflects these expectations of the Filipino people through this collective long-term vision for the Philippines. To achieve this vision, the government has to step up to improve services geared towards the people. And this can be done through the Government Quality Management Program, or GQMP. Institutionalized through Executive Order Number 605 in February 23, 2007, the Government Quality Management Program directs government agencies to adopt ISO 9001 Quality Management System, or QMS. GQMP aims to strengthen the institutional capacities of public sector organizations in delivering citizen-focused public services and implement international standards-based QMS. The adoption of the ISO 9001 QMS in the public sector will empower government institutions to provide quality, innovative, efficient, and people-centered public goods and services. Create an enabling environment for the business sector to sustain economic growth, deliver quality health care for Filipinos, and provide quality education to prepare the youth for the future. Over the years, the program, through the Development Academy of the Philippines, or DAP, has been strengthening institutional capacities of public sector organizations in delivering citizen-focused public services through the implementation of the international standards-based QMS. Government agencies which had implemented ISO 9001 QMS attest to the benefits of the standard.
The mandate of DepEd Mandaluyong is to deliver quality basic education services to all of the 23 schools in the city. True to its mandate, we have ensured that we will be certified to a quality management system such as ISO 9001 2015.
Before QMS, yung PSA kasi came from 4 different agencies. So you can just imagine anong culture ang dala-dala ng bawat isa. So with QMS, there's this sort of unifying effort kasi now we have one system, one process that everybody should follow. So it helps us be more productive, be more conscious in customer service. Isang klaro sa amin yung pagiging more conscious about satisfying yung customer. But now we are looking also at certain KPIs na nagpo-promote ng comfort level ng mga customers namin. Kumusta ba yung cleanliness namin, timeliness, even yung temperature, we monitor it. Kasi nga, dapat maging comfortable yung customer. These are part of good things coming from QMS.
Sa healthcare, walang room for error. Kasi pag nagkamali ka, napakalaki ng impact. Ang quality, ang pinaka-core dapat ng lahat ng trabaho at operation sa ospital. Nagiging ingrained sa lahat ng empleyado namin. Pagpasok pala ng pasyente, paghiga niya sa kama, pag-deliver ng services at paglabas. Kalidad yun ng serbisyo.
A testament to all of this is the number of awards that Muntinlupa has received through the years. Most noteworthy is the back-to-back win for most business-friendly LGU. Speak highly of the level of competence that the city has manifested. And people have come to appreciate that. Not only businessmen, but ordinary folks. They want to start a new business, entrepreneurs who want to engage in a business.
The mandate of the Basis Conversion Development Authority is actually to transform former U.S. military bases, identified military camps like Fort Bonifacio, into economic hub and help the government economy. BCDA, with its current implementation of the QMS, actually help the government in developing a sustainable economy and also the Build program of the government.
For any quality management system, it's very important to monitor what your customers are saying. So, yung customer satisfaction surveys namin, so far, with the implementation of our quality management system, the customer satisfaction is quite high. Actually, we average even above 95% of our customers being satisfied with the extra mile that we provide, their experience.
What kind of service do individual citizens expect from frontline government agencies? Were they happy with the services they received? Through a nationwide citizen satisfaction survey in 2018, frontline government services received an overall rating of 8.37, where 10 is the most satisfied. This means that the efforts of the government to improve the quality of how they deliver frontline services through the QMS are starting to produce good results.
SDO Mandaluyong has always been aware of the needs of the teachers. They conduct needs assessment. So, malaking bagay para sa mga teachers, lalo't ang daming mga innovations ng DepEd. Kung di kami tutulungan ng SDO Mandaluyong, di kami makakasabay.
Napaka-comfortable ngayon kasi aircon na siya. Swabe yung transaction, napaka-smooth lang. Then, napaka-hassle-free.
Dito sa PCMC, ang mga pasyente nagkaroon ng unity, naging isang pamilya dahil alam mo kung ano yung mga nasa puso ng bawat isa.
Dito ngayon sa VPLO kasi mabilis na ang pagkuha. So in 15 minutes, makakuha mo na yung mga permit mo for business. And then, pag renewal naman, mas mabilis na. Unlike before na marami kang pupuntahan, ngayon meron silang one-stop shop.
Accommodating naman sila. Tuwing pumupunta ako rito pagka kumukuha ako ng result ng examination, mabait naman yung nag-assist sa akin kasi in-entertain niya kaagad ako, tapos tinanong niya kaagad ako kung ano ang kailangan ko. Satisfied po ako dito sa Civil Service Commission.
Thank you, QMS! Thank you, QMS!
This is what QMS can bring. A government that will work better, serve better, a government comparable to the best in the world. Government Quality Management Program, bringing quality government service closer to the people.
So that is the GQMP. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin the program in 5 minutes. Right now, we have a total of 230 participants in Zoom and 500 in YouTube. Some of the participants who are already here with us this afternoon are from GCG, from PRC Tarlac. Good afternoon po sa inyo from PRC. From PSA across the Philippines. Ang dami pong from PSA. Parang full force po yata ang PSA this afternoon with us, along with GSIS and SSS. Marami pong mga participants natin are from these agencies. Also, we have participants from LGU Odyongan and LGU of Santa Maria, Bulacan. Kumusta po kayo lahat dyan? I hope na hindi maulan ang araw na ito dyan sa Bulacan. We also have participants from the Philippine Competition Commission, from PhilHealth, from Philippine Statistics Authority or PSA, Farm Securities and Exchange Commission. And nakita ko po earlier si SSS VP Normita Doctor. Good afternoon, ma'am, and welcome. Also, we have participants from DILG across the Philippines, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, who are with us, logged on both Zoom and YouTube. Also, from DOLE, the Department of Labor and Employment, and some participants from the DTI. So, may we request everyone to kindly set your microphones on mute to avoid distractions during the symposium. Again, we remind everyone to please rename your identification to agency _ and then your name so we can duly acknowledge you dito po sa ating symposium. Likewise, we will utilize the chat box for queries and requests for assistance. Now we'd like to share with you this webinar ethic video to guide us all during this symposium. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Welcome to the second GQMP Symposium on Institutionalizing Service Quality Standards, working together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite everyone for a moment of silence for the invocation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فقال ربكم ادعوني أستجب لكم آمين يا رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين اللهم اجمع شمل المسلمين والكريستيان والأمة في مدينة دباو وسلم دائما مجتمعنا هذا بالسلم والأمن والتقدم في بلدنا هذا آمين يا رب العالمين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على خير خلقه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today to praise and worship you and give you thanks for all the things you continue to provide for ourselves and our families. Father, we humbly ask for forgiveness for all the times we have offended you, when we forget to acknowledge your presence in the image of our brothers and sisters, and for moments we fail to be good stewards of the blessings you have given us. Continue to guide and protect each one of us, Lord, that we may always walk in the lights of your everlasting love and mercy. Grant us, Father, with your comfort in times of distress and with your strength in times of weakness. Bestow upon us your unending grace and healing, that we may in turn become instruments of gentleness and compassion to others. We ask all this in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, with the prayer and the intercession of our Blessed Mother. Amen.
Manama, mawantog ka. Warag po ko iling ko'y ko. O Diyos, kahibulungan ka. Busa ikaw lang ang simbahon ko. Busa ikaw lang ang alagaran ko.
Distinguished secretaries, undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, agency and institution officers, Government Quality Management Committee or GQMC principal members, fellow employees in government, guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Buenas tardes a todos for those coming from Region 9 in Zamboanga City. Assalamu alaikum for those from Holo and Tawi-Tawi areas who are with us this afternoon. And maayong adlaw sa inyo ha for the rest of Mindanao and the Visayas areas. Welcome to the second GQMP online symposium on institutionalizing service quality standards, working together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. Good afternoon po from LGU of Malolos. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat dyan. I am Rica Pilar Bustamante from the Development Academy of the Philippines, and I am your host for this afternoon. This event uses the Zoom platform and is broadcasted via YouTube. You can still ask your friends and colleagues to join us via the YouTube link posted on screen right now. So, pwede pa po nating invite ang ating mga office mates, those we know who are in the frontline government service, to join us dito sa ating symposium this afternoon. Okay, we can see a lot of participants joining us today from different regions. As of 1:28 p.m. this afternoon, we have a total of 624 participants logged in both Zoom and YouTube. We have exactly 165 on Zoom and 459 on YouTube. Lahat po yan from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And we are so happy that you are with us this afternoon. For those participants who have not yet logged their attendance for today, please go to this link. Please check your chat boxes. Ang chat box po natin dito sa Zoom, dito sa baba, as well as our comment boxes on YouTube. To welcome us all, we have with us the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Attorney Engelbert C. Caronan Jr., to give us his welcome remarks and who will later introduce our keynote speaker. Hello, President Caronan.
Hello. To Secretary Wendell Abisado of the Department of Budget and Management, Director Bernadette Casinabe of the 888 Citizen Citizens Complaint Center, Ms. Jaina M. Rosal of the Governance Commission for Government-Owned and Controlled Corporations, Attorney Andrea Lizares C. of the Negros Occidental Provincial Council for Women, Senior Vice President Magdalena L. Mendoza, Vice President Arnel Abanto of the DAP Productivity and Development Center, distinguished guests, fellow government personnel, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to the Government Quality Management Program's second symposium on institutionalizing service quality standards as organized by the Development Academy of the Philippines through its Productivity and Development Center. On behalf of the organizing team, allow me to express our gratitude to each and everyone in this virtual meeting room for joining us in today's symposium. In 2018, the Academy spearheaded the conduct of Citizen Satisfaction Survey that sought to capture the citizens' level of satisfaction with frontline government services. The result of the survey, which was centered on the key drivers of satisfaction and minimum set of service quality standards that citizens value, was envisioned to aid government agencies as well as local government units in identifying areas of improvement in the design and delivery of their services. In our attempt to get the buy-in of government agencies and LGUs in adopting a citizen-centric reforms in their operations, we organized the first symposium entitled Measuring Service Quality of Frontline Government Services in 2019 to present the results of the survey and steer the discussion on the importance of feedback mechanisms and having measurable service quality standards. In the beginning of the year 2020, with the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic, it has brought to the surface the pressing need for government agencies to strengthen and enhance the quality of their operations and service delivery with an end view of making it resilient to any forms of crisis. Towards this end, and in light of our country's experience with the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges and opportunities it presented, the Academy, as the designated National Productivity Organization, embarked on another survey that would capture people's expectations and satisfaction in frontline government services in the context of an ongoing pandemic. We take cognizance of the fact that the pandemic has thoroughly altered the landscape in which the public sector operates in. It is evident in terms of how people transact businesses and avail of services from government, which warrants a new analysis to serve as a critical input as the government calibrates its strategies to adapt to the requirements of the new normal. The result of that survey will be presented in this symposium under the theme, Working Together to Meet Citizens' Expectations in Frontline Government Service, which aptly encapsulates the important elements or high points in our recent history that pushed us, the DAP, to develop and organize this symposium. First is the idea that citizen engagement and input are central in government response, healing, and recovery. Second is the imperative to tackle the bureaucratic processes and our traditional siloed approach in order to provide a citizen-centered delivery of government services. Lastly, that this initiative is rooted in the current administration's trust to deliver genuine change in the lives of the people. Putting people's voice and experience at the core of how we deliver government services is a cogent strategy to achieve this goal. And ensuring that this is followed through, the whole of government can be done through the institutionalization of the service quality standards. With this, the symposium seeks to serve first as a platform for representatives from various government agencies to gain appreciation and share their thoughts on the possible adoption of the service quality standards in their respective agencies. And more importantly, an opportunity for fellow public servants to understand the work that they do, from conceptualization to delivery of government services, through the eyes, experience, and sentiments of the people, our clients in the public service. On a final note, I would like to encourage everyone to actively listen during the presentation of the 2020 e-CitSat results and to substantively participate during the discussion. All your insights from this activity would certainly aid us in conceptualizing and developing strategies to further enable the government, not only to meet the citizens' expectations in the frontline services, but in fact to exceed them. I also encourage everyone to utilize the results of the 2020 e-CitSat as we aim for a better quality government services through an evidence-based information. May our pursuit for a citizen-centric service delivery and culture of quality lead us to a more inclusive and resilient country. Again, I would like to warmly welcome everyone in this virtual symposium. And as we say here in DAP, we do all this para sa Diyos, para sa bayan, para sa mamamayan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, President Caronan, for the warm and very meaningful open remarks. And, sir, for emphasizing that we are all here to find ways to work together to meet citizens' expectations and promote service quality standards. Maraming salamat again, President Caronan. Also, we sincerely thank everyone for joining us in this symposium, which is organized by the Development Academy of the Philippines in behalf of the Government Quality Management Program, or GQMP, for public sector organizations to raise awareness on the National 2020 Citizen Satisfaction e-Survey, or e-CitSat, and identify measures to work together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. To introduce our keynote speaker, we would like to call again the DAP President, Attorney Engelbert C. Caronan Jr. Sir?
Hi. Secretary Wendell Avisado is a lawyer by profession, having earned his law degree cum laude from the Ateneo de Davao University and a consultant in law and governance. He has served the national government as Regional Director of the Department of Interior and Local Government from March 1986 to March 1993, and at the same time as co-chair of the Regional Development Council of Region 11. He advocates and champions people empowerment and participatory development. On November 8, 2016, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte appointed him as the Presidential Assistant for Special Concerns, tasked to oversee the completion of the Yolanda Rehabilitation and Construction Program and other special concerns of the President. He was appointed to and took his oath of office as the Secretary of Budget and Management on August 5, 2019. He is also currently the chairperson of the Government Quality Management Committee. Secretary Avisado.
Thank you very much, Attorney Engelbert Caronan Jr., my fraternal brother, President and CEO of the Development Academy of the Philippines. I'd also like to greet SVP Magdalena Dedeng Mendoza, Vice President Arnel Abanto, other guests, and more importantly, the participants, fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. We have just entered the second half of the year 2021. The year we had hoped would be kinder than 2020, specifically on the health and well-being of our economy. For us who are in the government service, it is the beginning of the second semester, the third quarter of fiscal year 2021. And similarly, a year in which we had hoped and planned to reset, rebound, and recover, to get back on track at the phase we were on before the pandemic. We continue to hope, even as we continue to do our work and give our best despite the trials and challenges of the pandemic. And your presence here today and with this impressive attendance is proof positive of this. That is why, first and foremost, I would like to thank everyone present here today, though virtually, for finding time and resolve to take part in the second symposium on institutionalizing service quality standards. Your presence, though virtual, is a clear manifestation of your passion and commitment to improve the quality of service that we provide to the public. By assuring the delivery of more efficient service at every level and aspect of their interaction with us, we can help our fellow ones and ones attain their aspiration of a quality and comfortable life. The COVID-19 pandemic may have thrown unimaginable challenges along the path towards our goals. But with your presence here, we have already the first weapon in getting past these challenges. To raise the bar of public service, we should always be willing to listen to the voice of our people. The be-all and end-all of our performance at work, no matter where government agency we belong and we render service. The Government Quality Management Program, through the Development Academy of the Philippines, is taking a great leap in its priorities by leveling up its quality improvement initiatives with a focus on enhancing citizen participation by 2022. The 5-year project, which started in 2018, is designed to improve the delivery of public services and institutionalize service quality standards in frontline government service. Eventually, this will steer the bureaucracy towards a more citizen-centered service delivery, consciousness, and culture of quality. It has been 2 years since the DAP organized the first symposium on the institutionalization of service quality standards with the theme Measuring Service Quality of Frontline Government Service. That assembly was aimed at sharing the highlights of the 2018 Citizens Participation or Satisfaction Survey and soliciting initial inputs in identifying service quality dimensions for frontline government services dealing with the business sector. Moving forward to 2021 with the theme Working Together to Meet Citizens' Expectations in Frontline Government Service, this year's symposium will tackle the highlights of the e-Citizen Satisfaction 2020 survey results that frontline government agencies and offices can use as reference in adopting evidence-based service quality standards in delivering services, especially under the new normal. It also envisions to bring together frontline public service agencies, including oversight agencies, to facilitate the sharing of perspectives and to foster a collaborative approach in promoting the need to further institutionalize service quality standards in frontline government services. This is what President Rodrigo Roa Duterte wants his administration to achieve. And this is exactly what we are doing. The e-Citizen Satisfaction 2020 survey conducted online to comply with the citizens transacting with frontline facilities of national agencies and local government units. It further sought to find out if citizens are satisfied with their transaction experience, especially in this time when the country is under public health emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The results of the survey will aid us in getting insights into the citizenry's feedback on the quality of services they have been receiving and identify key areas of service design and delivery that need improvement and subsequently act on them together. The e-Citizen Satisfaction 2020 survey was a crucial exercise undertaken as part of the evidence-based background for government action towards good governance. But just as crucial to ensure the achievement of the CSAT survey objectives, it is the proper analysis and appreciation of the survey results. And of course, eventually, the certain and efficient implementation of resolutions that will emerge from participative discussions on these results. Therefore, to make the most out of this important event, I encourage everyone to participate in this symposium. Listen and speak from the heart, your heart, and our people's heart. You know the best needs, or you know best the needs and expectations of the people you serve and we serve. This is one of our best chance to find ways together to address these needs and fulfill their expectation. Let your voice be heard, and together let us work hand in hand to identify measures to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. I hope that when we go back to our work, our learnings here will find application on how to ensure that our mandated services are delivered well to the public. Again, thank you very much for your passion and dedication to service and your continuing resolve to find ways to improve and level up this service. Thank you all again, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Secretary.
Daghang salamat, DBM Secretary Wendell Avisado. Thank you very much, sir. And daghang salamat for reminding us to be passionate and dedicated in all that we do for the people. Okay, as we all know, institutionalizing service quality standards is a timely and agile whole of government approach in ensuring that a specific set of quality standards in delivering government services are observed at all levels of government. This quality management system aligned initiative complements efforts in improving the design and delivery of frontline government service amidst the challenges arising in the new normal. After hearing from President Caronan and Secretary Avisado, I think everyone is now on the same page on what this symposium is all about. We are indeed very honored today with everyone's presence, and we look forward to getting your insights and interacting with you in the question and answer portion after the presentations. We are virtually gathered in this symposium specifically to achieve three objectives. First, raise awareness on the whole of government satisfaction score and expectations given by citizens in 2020 during the pandemic. Second, encourage participants to consider evidence-based inputs from citizens in their efforts to improve the design and delivery of frontline government service amidst the changes arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. And third, to identify measures to work together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. The theme of the second GQMP Symposium on Institutionalizing Service Quality Standards is working together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service. This symposium has brought all of us together, government agencies and offices with frontline services, including oversight agencies, to facilitate the sharing of perspectives and foster a collaborative approach in promoting the need to institutionalize service quality standards in frontline government services. You may type your questions in the chat and comment boxes, and kindly indicate your name and agency to be recognized later. Our speakers and reactors will answer them during the question and answer portion. So sabi nga po ni Secretary Avisado, let us listen and speak from our hearts when we share our insights later on. For the first presentation, we will have an introduction on the Service Quality Standards or SQS journey, developing SQS from citizens' point of view. Please allow me to introduce our first speaker. He is the Vice President and Managing Director of the Development Academy of the Philippines Productivity and Development Center. As such, he has been involved in center-wide and academy-level planning, performance review, and management committee undertakings. His broad range of expertise of more than 30 years of service in DAP have invariably involved him in industry and firm-level productivity undertakings, specializing in measurement and analysis, institutional development and networking, quality and productivity promotions, training, consultancy, and policy and program advocacy. His technical expertise also includes the area of quality management and assessment, productivity measurement, analysis and improvement, business excellence, regulatory management system, and green productivity, wherein he served as technical expert and resource person for various local and international projects. He graduated cum laude with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness Management at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños College of Economics and Management. Here with us today is none other than Mr. Arnel Abanto, or we may call him Sir Arnel. Hello, Sir Arnel. Good afternoon. Let's all give him a virtual clap. Let's use the reaction button. Hello, Sir
Thank you very much,
Arnel.
Rika, for the kind introduction. Yeah, good afternoon. To our distinguished guests, presenters, panelists, participants to the symposium, colleagues in the academy, fellow workers in the government, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. May I request the Secretariat to share the presentation for this session. Thank you. So for this session, allow me to share with you some background information about this initiative, and maybe towards the middle of this presentation will allow us to discuss also some of the framework that we used, as well as the approach that we are considering to help institutionalize service quality standard in the government. Next slide. So a bit of a background. Back in 2020 or thereabouts, we came across of this experience of Canada when they started working on their Citizen First initiative. They did a lot of surveys, listening to the customers of the public sector. And interestingly, let me share with you some of the results of their efforts. And you may want to consider this as service quality standards. For instance, based on their study in answering telephone calls, according to Canadians, 30-second waiting time is acceptable, but 1 minute waiting time was unacceptable to them. And let me highlight also in terms of referrals, I believe we have experienced this when we call or contact a government agency. It is very possible that we will be transferred or referred to several people. So if we deal with 2 people, that's acceptable to Canadians. But if they're going to deal with more than 2 people, that's unacceptable. That's according to their study. Waiting time in line, 2 minutes is acceptable, but 10 minutes or more would be unacceptable. So the list goes on. And this information inspired us to look into the possibility of developing service quality standards in government. Next slide. So in line with that, in 2007, as have been shared with you through the video, the Government Quality Management Program aimed to help realize improvement in the overall citizen satisfaction through a government-wide quality improvement. And this is very much in line with the current Philippine Development Plan, as it is hoping to help realize the subsector outcome related to seamless service delivery, and citizen-centered, innovative delivery of public goods and services. Along this framework, next slide, please. The Government Quality Management Program is designed to cover a number of areas, one of which is the installation of quality management system in government. But let me highlight a very important component here where this initiative is anchored. And this refers to the institutionalization of service quality standards in government. So if we have measures to install or efforts to install quality management system in government through ISO 9001 standard, some assistance to agencies to foster innovation, streamline their processes, and introduce some service quality improvement initiatives. The program is keen on determining how well are we gaining the trust and confidence of the citizens by some surveys, through surveys that will give us some indicators of the level of satisfaction of the citizen. So from this framework, next slide, please. We designed this initiative to look into areas that will help us achieve certain objectives. One of which is to improve the quality of frontline services. That's very important objective to consider. And of course, we would like to contribute in realizing some improvements in the ease of doing business in the country. And very important here is to build the citizens' trust and confidence in government. With this as our primary objective, building citizens' trust and confidence, we designed a number of activities that will help us determine that. Next slide, please. So a bit of some concepts. We are talking here about service quality, but for many people, we have a number of definitions when we talk about quality. There are many different experts, gurus that provided or offered their definition. And to many of us, we define quality as it refers to customer satisfaction. But if you refer to ISO standard, next slide, please. So we define quality as referring to the totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bear on our ability to satisfy stated or implied needs of the customer. So with this as a general definition, we anchor this in terms of this important term. The other one is service. Next slide, please. So at times we are confused with the difference between products and service, but in government, we may consider this definition of service that this is a result of at least one activity that is necessarily performed at the interface between the supplier or the provider of the service and the customer. That is generally intangible. So with this definition, we consider this in crafting or examining certain frameworks that will help us determine the service quality in government. Next slide. So this is a very important framework that we are using in this study, the service quality framework. Many agencies have been doing surveys to determine their citizen or customer satisfaction. And I believe many of us are aware that the satisfaction will be a measure of how we are able to exceed the expectations of our customers. And if we know the difference between their level of perception as against their expectation, that determines their level of satisfaction. That measure of satisfaction determined through this examination of what we call the gap number 5 in the service quality framework. We will not be able to close that gap unless we know the different aspects or factors that may contribute to that gap between perceived service or quality of service as against the expectations of the customer. So if we know the needs and requirements of our customers and translate that in terms of uh, perception requirements or specifications of the service, and translate this in terms of how we deliver the service, then the different gaps may exist depending on how we manage or use that information to translate this in the actual delivery of service. The other thing that affects the uh, satisfaction of our transacting public would be the external communication to consumers or customers. I experienced one time dealing with a government agency, and during the transaction, I was given this commitment that within 7 days, the document that I applied during the time will be released within 7 days. But to my surprise, in less than 3 days, I got a call from them saying that the document is already available. So they promised 7 days, but actually they were able to deliver this in less than 7 days. So they under promise, but they over deliver. But in some cases, we over promise, but we under deliver. That's importance of communication, as it raises the expectations of the transacting public. Moving on, you can relate this framework with our existing Citizens Charter. Next slide. So many of us who have introduced or installed the quality management system, and those who have been certified to ISO 9001 standard, I'm sure they are familiar with this framework, wherein at the core of the quality management systems model, you will see here the importance of information arising from our determination of our customer requirements, needs, and expectations. And we make use of that in planning, in delivering our services, and in controlling the way we deliver these services to the transacting public. And if we do well in terms of translating those information from the transacting public in terms of how we deliver the services, expectedly this should lead to a higher satisfaction of our citizens or customer. So this framework, if we could keep on using or listening to our customers and keep on reinventing or improving our internal processes and support processes, we should be able to gain confidence in ensuring that whatever commitments we give to our transacting public, we will be able to exceed their expectations. So this is the very essence of a quality management system. And under the government quality management program, wherein many agencies are now implementing the framework, we would like to emphasize that the QMS may not be effective unless we are able to make use of this information in translating the customer satisfaction information into concrete service quality improvements. Next slide, please. So following that, we designed this project to look into how existing information may be utilized to determine the overall satisfaction of the citizens and the businesses. In many cases, we have government agencies doing their own determination of government of their citizen or customer satisfaction. And these are, as you know, we are spending a lot on this. And per our observation, after getting the satisfaction result, we haven't seen how such information is used in adjusting our frontline service quality standards or even enhancing our citizens charter. So we tried to cover a government-wide quality management system with an effort or attempt to determine the most important features of service quality that can help us set some minimum standards to improve frontline service standards, as well as focus our efforts in improving areas that are considered very important from the citizens' perspective. So next slide. So as mentioned earlier, we started this study in 2018. As you can see here, the results of the surveys. We got a rating of 86.93 in 2018. That's based on the government or agency to citizen transaction. And then in 2019, we focused or determined the satisfaction of the business sector based on their experience in transacting with the government. The results are quite high, 86 or 87 percent or 87 satisfaction score and 80.5 for 2019. Then 2020, we again checked the satisfaction of the citizens, and we got this result of 70.14. The details of this will be presented in the next session. And for 2021, we are going to measure again this year the satisfaction of the business sector. We'd like to hear from them their experiences in transacting with government during this pandemic. So we like to see how these things are changing, and we like to know what drives their satisfaction, what information are important to consider as the areas for improvement, and hopefully that will be very useful to our government agency. Next slide. So the journey to institutionalize the quality, this SQS is patterned after the model used in Canada. So we outlined where we are now in terms of the satisfaction level, what are the important drivers of satisfaction. And from there, it should help us identify the priorities for improvements and the minimum frontline standards that we have to observe to ensure that the citizens or the businesses will be satisfied, and translate this in terms of some targets and improvement plan, and check or monitor if these things are contributing to the improved satisfaction. As we turn the wheel, we should be able to gain confidence in controlling our processes, our services, to ensure that indeed we are bringing the government closer to the people. Next slide. So following that, let me share with you some of the key steps that we are considering in setting service quality standards. You may want to consider this. At the agency level, we need to secure approval of the management regarding some minimum service standards that you can draw from your customer satisfaction surveys. Try to deliver or translate the standards into practice through by observing this at the frontline offices, and then make some follow-up to monitor observance of those minimum standards and check whether these are contributing to the overall improvement of their satisfaction. Following this step, let me share with you some detailed information based on the experiences of a government agency and a private organization. Next slide. So this is an example of the SQS. Very interesting to note for this agency, they set a goal that they would like to create an excellent first impression when their customers call them through their phone. And they have this standard, very interesting, SQS 3x3. What do we mean by that? They said that SQS 3x3, they will answer telephone calls promptly and courteously. And they translated that into details in terms of the job standard. And accordingly, they have to pick up the phone within 3 rings, greet the customer, identify the agency, identify the person who received the call, and offer assistance to the caller, then thank the customer for calling at the end of the call. And preferably, the provision of information should be given or completed within 3 minutes. That's why it's a 3x3. answer phone calls within 3 rings, and try to complete a conversation within 3 minutes without passing on the call to another person and so forth and so on. So this is the sample of such standard from one agency. And from the private sector, next slide please, we came across of these World Guest Service guidelines of the Walt Disney Company. According to their service guidelines, the first item there is to make eye contact and smile. Start and end every guest contact and communication with direct eye contact and a sincere smile. So very interesting to consider. And the second point is greet and welcome each and every guest. So extend the appropriate greeting to every guest with whom you come into contact with, and make each guest feel welcome by providing a special greeting in each area. So if you happen to visit Walt Disney, try to observe this. And they also display appropriate body language at all times. Next slide. And they preserve the magical guest experience. So they always focus on the positive rather than the personal or work-related problems. So very interesting. And they seek out guest contact. So every cast member must seek out guests who need help or assistance. So interesting to note if this the results of the survey would highlight the importance of related standards, and you can translate this into specific items such as this. No? Moving on to conclude this, let me just highlight that in this effort, if you want to improve quality, this is really important for us to gain control of the quality. But you cannot control quality if there's no standard. And you cannot set a standard unless we measure it. And it's very difficult to measure quality if there's no traceability. So that the cycle will help us gain some confidence in improving quality. And let me share also, next slide please, this important quote from the APO News. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. So hopefully we translate the insights from this symposium into practice. And lastly, very inspiring message from our president. According to him, and let me quote, 4 years into my term, I remain guided by one mantra. The Filipino deserves world-class standards of public service. And I do hope that with this, coming from our president, President Rodrigo Duterte, hopefully we imbibe this mantra to help really deliver meaningful service to every Filipino citizen. With that, as a conclusion, that concludes my presentation. And thank you very much for your attention. And I look forward to the reactions of our panelists and to your participation during the question and answer. Together, let us work together in bringing our government closer to the people. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Sir Arnel, for a very informative presentation. Sir, maganda yung parang nasa second to the third to the last slide po ninyo, yung preserve magical guest experience. I'm sure all of us, we are also part of the transacting public. We will really be happy and siguro masaya tayo magtatansak sa ating mga government agencies kung may magical experience tayong mapro-provide for our people. Once again, let's give a warm round of applause sa ating first speaker, Mr. Arnel D. Abanto. And later, we will have an opportunity to ask him about the topic he just discussed. And for those of us, Ma'am Darmita Dr. SSS Vice President, Ma'am, hello. Thank you for your question. Don't you worry, Ma'am. Just join our Google Classroom link that we will be posting every once in a while in the chat boxes where you can have access to all the presentation materials of our speakers as well as our class photo later on, our group photos. We will post it there. So please, everyone, I just remind you to please join our Google Classroom link, okay? So for the next presentation, we will discuss the 2020 Citizen Satisfaction Nationwide e-Survey results. Let us now listen to the highlights of the 2020 e-CitSat nationwide survey results. What scores did the citizens give to their experience in frontline government service facilities in 2020? What service attributes are important according to citizens? To answer these and more, here with us today is Miss Monica D. Saliendres. She is a fellow at the DAP and is currently the director of DAP's Productivity and Development Research Office, Productivity Development Center. Her work experience includes program management, monitoring and evaluation, application of quality productivity systems throughout the agro-industry's value chain, and benchmarking, among others. She conducted research work for the agriculture sector in the Philippines, India, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam. She also serves as faculty advisor and program representative for the Public Management Development Program, or PMDP scholars of the DAP, and has served as a Philippine Quality Award assessor for 3 cycles for both the public and private sectors. She has 20 years of experience with the public sector and holds a master in public administration, major in public policy and program administration from the University of the Philippines, where she also earned her bachelor's degree in public administration. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome with your warm reactions Director Monica D. Saliendres, or Miss Nika. Hello, Miss Nika, and welcome.
Thank you, Rika, for that introduction. To our partner, the Department of Budget and Management, led by Secretary Wendell Avisado, to the reactors, panelists from the government and private sectors, colleagues in DAP and in the government sector from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, a pleasant afternoon to all of you. Thank you for this opportunity to present the results of the DAP Productivity and Development Center study in 2020 under the Government Quality Management Program. Next slide. As espoused in the updated Philippine Development Plan of 2017-2022, the government will proactively seek citizens' perspective for more responsive government interventions. The outside-in approach will be adopted by actively listening to the people and understanding their needs and expectations. The vision is to bring in the voice of the citizens to the design and delivery of public services. This is the premise of the whole of government citizen satisfaction study. Next slide, please. Let me just walk you through the outline of the presentation. First is the status of the frontline government service pre-pandemic time, and then the introduction of the 2020 Citizen Satisfaction e-Survey, and the third part will be the key results of that study. And then lastly, the ways forward to institutionalizing the service quality standards. Next slide. As a matter of background, if you were with us in 2019 during the first symposium and in 2020 during the series of webinars we conducted sometime in August and September 2020, you will know that we've been doing this study before the pandemic. And as presented earlier by VP Abanto, he gave the rating that we got from the citizen in 2018 and in 2019 from this business sector. So where were we before the pandemic? The first National Citizen Satisfaction Survey was administered through face-to-face interview by trained enumerators using tablets at survey sites in key cities where the highest volume of government transaction occur. And we had the score that we got there was 86.93 out of 100. In terms of geographical location, the National Capital Region got the highest G2C score of 88.70. And if you disaggregate it according to the 4-agency cluster, you will see, or you can see on your screen, that the registration received the top score of 89.63. And we all know how much easier now to get our birth certificate. So Next slide, please. In 2019, we shifted to businesses and conducted the business satisfaction survey to measure the satisfaction level of government to business related transaction. The overall G2B transaction score is 80.53, where Mindanao received the highest score of 83.71. In terms of cluster, we have the business registration, economic employment licensing cluster, the local government and social services cluster. And if you can see, the business registration got the top score of 82.48, even higher than the national score. So in terms of attributes that matter to citizen in 2018, let me define the service attributes are based on identification of essential service features that are most important to the citizen. So the service attributes that receive the high importance rating are as follow. Frontliners wearing uniforms and IDs, as well as being neat and professional, delivering frontline service as promised, providing fast transaction and clean waiting area. Also, observing no noon break is a service attributes that the citizen considered important. Having simple and easy to understand transaction, including the use of the forms, and ensuring secured and easy payment method. If you want to embark on government-wide quality improvement, we can start with these attributes. So in 2019, what attributes mattered naman to businesses? We asked a similar question, and the service attributes that received high importance are immediate issuance of official receipts, easy payment method, frontliners again wearing uniforms and ID, as well as neat, professional, and they should communicate clearly. And in the facility or in the waiting area, it should be well lit, clean, and orderly. There's again, there's a reiteration of the observance of no noon break, simple and easy to fill out forms, and reasonable documentary requirements. Okay, so fast track in last year, the 2020 Citizen Satisfaction e-survey. As you can see, this is the second in the series, the Whole of Government Citizen Satisfaction Study. So we conduct this every 2 years. And the survey in 2018 is like our baseline citizen satisfaction and expectation with frontline government services. And this 2020 study provides information on how happy or not the citizens were with their transaction experience with the national government agency and, of course, the local government units during the onslaught of the COVID-19 pandemic. It also identifies the expectation of our citizen under the new normal scenario. Next slide. As a precautionary measure, the data gathering activities were conducted online as compared to the 2018 is in person. Now, what we did is to conduct it online, and that is through the use of the web-based tool. On your screen is the screenshot of the tool interface. So the instrument is comprised of 3 parts. The first one is the introduction. The second one is the frontline government service experience. This is where you measure the satisfaction level. And then the third one is the important frontline government service. So this is the expectation part. Our take-off point was the 2018 instrument with some improvements. It was also shortened to adapt to the online data collection. Pre-tests were also conducted, and responses to the question for measurement of satisfaction and importance level are recorded on a 5-point Likert scale and then converted to score of 0 to 100. Okay, moving forward, what are the key results of the 2020 e-CitSat? So let me just provide you a brief respondent profile. For the respondent profile, we had a total of 2,066 respondents from 17 regions across the country. So all regions were represented. In terms of sex distribution, there is almost equal number of female and male respondents. Majority of the respondents are college undergraduate at 63%. It should be noted that almost 2 out of 5 of the respondents, or 38%, are unemployed in 2020. So this is consistent with the 2018 results. Most of the transacting public there, they transacted with the government because they're looking for work and they need to submit some documentary requirements. So if you will recall, the SQS journey presented by BP Abanto, the first step of the SQS journey begins with where are we now, and that is we will find that one if we measure citizen satisfaction. So now for the overall G2C satisfaction score, last year, where movement restriction and other safety protocols in place added challenges to the delivery of frontline government service, the overall government to citizen satisfaction score is 70.14. This this score is quite low compared to the 2018 satisfaction score of 86.93. And if you will disaggregate it by island group and then compare it to other island score, Mindanao got the highest score of 75.80, followed by Visayas with a score of 71.98 and Luzon with 68.74. Note that Luzon's score is below the overall G2C satisfaction score of 70.14. And it should be interesting to note that the hardest hit by the pandemic during that time is the Luzon Island group also. If you were, and just to inform also the body, BP Banto mentioned that we benchmark with Canada in terms of the methodology that we use when we do this kind of study. Actually, just early this morning, Canada presented its Citizens First 2020 study, and surprisingly, their satisfaction level increased despite the pandemic. And actually, the Canadian researcher, were actually were surprised by that, because even though the Canadian had experienced 2 hours of waiting time, they still scored high for the federal services and up to the municipal uh, uh, delivery of services. And maybe this is because the Canadians were able to handle the complaints well. Okay, so this is just that I would like to share that to you because we attended that presentation 1 a.m. this morning. Okay, so next slide, please. So we also process the data by agency cluster to compare with the overall G2C national score and get an idea where much performance improvement and support may be channeled. In terms of agency cluster, where we clustered frontline government agency and offices based on the type of frontline services they provide, like economic, civil registration, etc. And of course, the LGU as another cluster, you can see the local government received the lowest satisfaction score of 53.62, significantly lower than the overall satisfaction score. And the cluster of civil registration received the highest score of 82.86. So there's consistency here. And then the local government units are especially critical frontliners during the pandemic, and their frontline services need to be improved significantly. Social welfare and health services have the second lowest, and then followed by the one-stop service center for OFWs with 67.90 and a mixed cluster with 72.32. Okay, next slide. Then if we further disaggregate according to the according to methods of contact by the citizens, so G2C online transaction have the online transaction have the highest satisfaction score of 76.63, followed by the phone call transaction with 72.28. Face-to-face transaction is at 72.24. However, when citizen transacted using multiple methods of contacts, so ito yung mga tumawag na, bumisita, at nag-online din. Okay, or combination of any of the three, no? The satisfaction score decreased and only received 64.24. Delivering frontline services through multiple methods is an area that can be improved to increase citizen satisfaction. Next slide. After getting the score, we didn't stop there, and we tried to compute the key drivers of citizen satisfaction. As a matter of definition, key drivers are factors that hold significant importance and have the greatest influence on citizen satisfaction across frontline government agencies. So it doesn't matter kung national o local ka, this will hold true to all levels of government. These are vital not only in gaining a better understanding of the G2C satisfaction score, but also in improving service delivery. Across all frontline government services, the key drivers of citizen satisfaction in all methods of contact, so face-to-face, phone line, or online, are the service outcome, timeliness, security, value, information, and cost. Next slide. Then for the additional key drivers based on method of contact, like face-to-face or in-person transaction, that can contribute to a pleasant and probably safe experience, include frontliners wearing of IDs and uniform. This give assurance that they are dealing with authorized personnel and not fixers. Moreover, citizens would like to have fewer number of interaction with frontliners, as mentioned by VP Arnel a while ago. Mahirap yung pasa-pasa until their transaction is completed, no? Especially during the time of the pandemic, when we would like to finish everything quickly and go back home. And then for phone call, a method of inquiring or getting frontline government service, citizens also appreciate having fewer number of interaction with frontliners. Too many phone calls or being passed on to multiple service personnel would contribute to dissatisfaction. In the new normal, where it is safer both for citizens and frontliners to interact using online method, frontline government agency and offices will do well continuing or improving on this method of service delivery. Citizens will be satisfied with the online frontline service delivery if they can easily navigate also the government website. We will share more details on that later. Okay, these are the key takeaway for the first part of the study. Okay, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, frontline government agency and offices still got a almost good overall G2C satisfaction score. However, with G2C satisfaction score ranging from the 50s to 60, there's a big room for improvement. So they are the Luzon Island Group, the One-Stop Service Center cluster, the social welfare, health services, and the local government cluster. And then citizens have slightly more positive experience when they transacted with the government online than the face-to-face or over the phone. So medyo mas nagustuhan nila to, no? And then the key drivers of satisfaction can be used to improve frontline service quality. Okay, so the second part, and also in the presentation a while ago, so it's important to measure. And then step 2 is it is important to prioritize. Okay, what do citizens where do citizens want us to be? Okay, and then next slide. So here are the top service attributes that matter to citizens last year, and they are clustered based on the 8 service quality dimension outlined in the 2020 PBB guidelines with 13 proposed attributes. So I'll go with it one by one. Okay, so and also aside from doing the survey, we also conducted a focus group discussion to better understand the top service attributes and gather the insight on citizens' expectation from the civil society organization. So this is to dig deeper to the dig deeper and understand better itong mga expectation ng citizens nito. Okay, so for reliability, we have 3 here. The observance of minimum health protocols and frontliners wear face masks and shields. So yung expectation nila dito should have a strict implementation, and this should be implemented during and post-pandemic time. So yan po yung clamor, no? And then that there's a protection in terms of protection of personal and confidential information, as promised, kailangan yung proper handling of personal and confidential information. Health information, they considered it as a confidential information and dapat compliance with Data Privacy Act. And then for citizen expectation pertaining to outcome, ito yung getting what is needed. No? And the citizen expects to get what they needed without error. And then, it's interestingly, sinabi nila dito, there should be no cut-off time. Maybe because kung galing ka sa malayong lugar, kung na-late ka, dapat i-accept na nila yung submission mo rather than go back tomorrow. And then mamasahe uli, pumunta uli doon sa lugar na yun. So there should be no cut-off time. And then as much as possible, one-day processing and walk-ins should be allowed. In terms of access and facilities, so meron tayong tatlo dito, like clean and well-lit waiting area. So ang expectation nila dito is that environmental and PWD friendly din yung ating facility. And then easy to contact agency by phone. So hindi lang landline pala. They are actually expecting na meron ding mobile numbers so that they can contact it any time. And then in terms of availability and accessibility of agency website, dapat hindi siya down, 24/7 yung access. It's user friendly. And if may option, mas maganda multilingual siya. And of course, there's always this expectation that the country should have a strong internet connection. Okay, in terms of responsiveness or responsiveness, this is willingness to help, assist, provide prompt service to citizens. So ang nag-top na service attribute is the fast transaction features. No? So responsive siya and prompt yung services. Also, this should the way we deliver our service should be compliant with 3720 policy of the anti-red tape law. And then again, reiterate nila no cut off time. One day and walk-ins are allowed. Short queue and less paperwork. And then dapat available din daw yung mga signatories. And the government should have ample resources to fast-track service delivery. So mahirap yung pag pumunta tayo doon, sasabihin na naubusan na pala. So they want to be sure na when they go to the government, they will be served. Okay, and then the citizen expectation in terms of assurance. So we have two here. Yung one is the helpful frontliners. So what the citizen expect here is that there's a welcoming attitude, delivery of desired services with no delay, and they can immediately provide assistance. And for the agency, for the online system of the agency, there should be consistency on the online system of the agency, no? And then the system capacity to fast track transaction status. And also, they expect that the government online facility confirms if transaction is successful. So there's an immediate feedback already. And then for the integrity or nangibabaw na service attribute here, it's about fairness of agency. So there should be fair treatment among citizens, no politics and discrimination. Hands-on din dapat yung local chief executive. So probably gusto nila yung nakikita yung chief executive doon mismo sa service area once in a while. And then in terms of cost, so when they pay, dapat may, especially online, dapat may electronic receipts already. And then there should be no unnecessary or unreasonable fees and compensate or other charges na mabibigay sa kanila, no? And lastly, for communication, okay, sabi it's easy to get updated and accurate information. So dapat daw it's timely, appropriate, accurate ang release ng information. And then the citizens are constantly informed about changes in the policy, procedures, and these rules and procedure or policy should be communicated clearly and consistently. And then there should also be transparency in the way we will use, or the government will use or uses its the citizens' information or personal information. Okay, so those are the top service attributes gathered from the 2020 e-CitSat survey. So we also measured some elements of timeliness by getting the minimum and maximum service expectation threshold and comparing the result to the actual experience of the citizen when they transacted in the with the government sector. In terms of length of time waiting before being served by the frontliner at the facility. So in person ito, the minimum waiting time in minutes is 20 and the maximum is 26. But the actual experience is actually 48 minutes. In terms of phone call, dapat within 34 seconds na-answer na ng frontliner yung phone call, and the maximum is 42. Pagka naging 42 seconds na yan, medyo ma-dissatisfied na sila. But the actual experience was 55 minutes. Okay, in terms of, and just like to later. And then the length of time spent to finish in-person transaction, dapat daw 1 day lang to 1.5 days. But the actual experience was 3.5 days. In terms of phone call transaction, this should be finished na within 6 minutes up to 9 minutes. Okay, ang actual experience niya ay 10 minutes. So hindi masyado nagkakalayo. In Canada, based on the result that they showed, ang minimum nila is 8 minutes. Okay? And then for the length of time spent to complete online transaction, so in terms of phone call, mas mabilis yung gusto natin, no? Siguro kasi mahal ang load. And then for the length of time spent to complete online, dapat ang minimum nila is 10 minutes and then maximum ay 14 minutes. But the actual experience was 21 minutes to complete an online transaction. In Canada, because of maybe the strong internet connection, 6 minutes lang dapat. Tapos na yung online transaction. Okay, so ito yung service attributes that our citizens expect from our government agency, maging national government agency or local government agency. So next slide. How agency and offices can use the results. We know that we have various means to measure citizen satisfaction, and we spend a great deal of resources from getting our rating from our customers. But what we found out is that we cannot stop in just getting a good score. We need to dig deeper. We need to find what drives their satisfaction and what is causing this dissatisfaction. Insight from the GQMP study, as well as consideration of the unique circumstances of the agency as are possible take-off points to first develop service quality standards using citizens' feedback. Second, use service quality standards to help manage clients' expectation and to deliver consistent service. Overall, this current initiative of the GQMP can give oversight agency and agency with frontline services first evidence-based recommendation on specific areas where we can improve on as one government, insights for getting priorities for service quality improvement in consideration of limited government resources. Third is the key drivers presented in the top service attributes or features can be used for setting specific targets for improvement of service delivery. And over the years, we were able to test a number of questions. We have a question bank actually already based on the expectation of the citizens. And we can use that as a minimum set of questions that can be further customized to agency level based on their unique case or needs. So when we want to if we want to improve our survey questionnaire and focus it more on the what the citizens expect us to do, then we can also use that question banks. The key takeaways on measuring the importance level and identifying the top service attributes. It should be noted that the attributes on clean and well-lighted waiting area and fast transaction are top service attributes before and during the pandemic. And in 2020, the citizens value more the attributes on health, safety, and security. Okay, to meet citizens' expectation, laws and regulations should be strictly implemented. And then the insights gathered from the top service attributes, including the thresholds, and are useful in setting priorities for service quality improvement in consideration, of course, of the limited government resources. Next slide. Okay, for our service quality standards value proposition. Next slide. I think we, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the key element of the, well, you know that the key element of the international standards based quality management system is meeting clients' needs and expectation as presented a while ago. Getting the service requirements and expectation of citizens and finding out their satisfaction level serve as a vital inputs to the QMS. Even after data is translated into service improvement, another challenge is to ensure the desired outcome is really achieved. Relative to the QMS, this initiative is committed to provide information that will strengthen government-wide institutionalization of QMS. Our value proposition is that for frontline service managers and staff to become professional, engaged, and competent, and innovative and future-ready personnel equipped with the desired competency. For the service quality, this should be evidence-based, measurable, and standardized across level of government, whether you are in the far-flung area or not. We would like to achieve a citizen-centered, efficient, and effective government service delivery. And lastly, we would like the transacting public that they are more engaged, more empowered, and informed. Having said that, it could not happen without a more meaningful collaboration among the oversight agency from the national and the local government. So we really need to work together to and help each other to achieve this. Okay, and I would like to, for our conclusion, I would like to leave you with a quote from Peter Drucker. Quality is a service or quality in a service or product is not what you put into it. It is what the client or customer gets out of it. Para po sa sapat at mahusay na serbisyo, marami pong salamat.
Maraming salamat. Thank you very much, Ma'am Nika, for sharing with us the results of the National 2020 Citizen Satisfaction Survey. Let's give our reaction for Ma'am Nika. Ma'am Nika, just so you would know, our participants from the YouTube who are joining us from YouTube are sending their reaction po, actively sending their reaction dito sa ating symposium. And maraming salamat po for those PACs who are joining us via YouTube. We really appreciate po sa inyong mga feedback and reaction. And we encourage you, if you have questions already from our first and second presentations, you may type them already sa ating chat box so we may consider them already later on sa ating Q&A. And once again, thank you to both of our speakers, Mr. Abanto and Ms. Aliendres, for their very informative and engaging presentations. Let us give once again our speakers a virtual reaction, okay? Pwedeng itong, tada! Okay, celebration. However you feel na gusto nyong ibigay sa ating mga presenters, we appreciate it. Maraming salamat. And before we proceed with the presentation of our panelists and reactors, let us pause for a 10-minute break. Okay? Please enjoy your coffee or your juices doon for all our participants who are in their homes. See you after 10 minutes.
We are now faced with a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. This is the era of disruptive changes, information overload, and lightning-paced developments. This is the age of innovation. Because of these rapid changes in the globe, the needs of the people changed as well. New mindsets were formed as accessibility and online transactions become integral parts of daily lives. Having different platforms of commerce and communication, people have radically shifted to digitization and virtual activities. This radical trend has resulted to an inertia in national development and a widened gap with the government and the general public. Coupled with the diminishing public trust, today's leaders are faced with the greater challenge of bringing the government closer to the people. Innovation is the only way forward. More than just giving what the citizens need, the government should give what the people deserve. Thus, the birth of the Public Sector Productivity Innovation Laboratory has become imperative to equip the public servants with innovative skills as they become part of future-fit organizations. Along with integrity, transparency, accountability, and efficiency, Innovation Laboratory adds a key ingredient in fortifying the pillars of good governance, a new culture of innovation.
Hello, my name is Ino, and this is the PSP Innovation Laboratory in the Philippines, one of the country's efforts in preparing the nation through innovation programs in the public sector. We gather small cross-functional teams to collaborate, discuss, and develop new technologies, products, solutions, or programs. We unleash the skill to adapt experimental and innovative methods as the different agencies tackle social, political, and organizational issues. Our main objectives are to enhance citizen satisfaction, improve government efficiency, and strengthen public sector innovation. InnoLab is a venue for knowledge sharing, creative thinking, and discovery of cutting-edge techniques to address public sector productivity. Our role is to create a culture of innovation among public organizations with the ultimate goal of creating a pool of innovators engaging in interagency and sectoral collaborations. InnoLab will be the catalyst of national development through innovation, a venue to stimulate out-of-the-box thinking, and the moving force of implementation and scale-up. Innovation Laboratory follows a citizen-centered approach in coming up with innovation initiatives. We call it the co-creation innovation process. Let me show you how this works. Co-creation is really not hard to do. All you need is a group of people gathering together towards a specific objective. Starting with identifying roles and objectives, the innovation challenge was framed.
The decision point that we used was to choose an innovation that affects so many customers, and we should do everything to make them comfortable, of less cost on their part, fast and most efficient service.
Empathy is a tool that will allow you to go deeper inside the system. Empathy will lead you to frame up an innovation. It will lead you to gather insights and information. And it will also lead you to plan how to implement the solutions that you have in mind.
The data gathering process is a complicated phase. Digging deeper does not only allow you to understand the problem, but also makes you understand the pains and gains of the stakeholders.
Getting into the data gathering, tapos yung talagang as in naka-immerse ka doon kahit man lang a few hours na nandoon kami sa branch, we're able to see kung ano yung mga dapat na i-improve on our own, yung kung ano yung mga dapat na hinihingi ng members. So we're looking at it at the members' perspective.
The birth of an innovative idea comes from the identification of alternative solutions through creativity tools and techniques where wild and crazy ideas are encouraged.
Creative thinking actually allowed us to look into ways that rather we would not be able to do in a normal thinking process. We were able to use wild ideas, take inspiration from them, and apply it in our situation that we wouldn't even think would be applicable.
Innovation does not stop in the mind. Prototyping is where an innovative idea is being brought to life.
I think prototyping is very important, especially in product development or in innovation. The prototyping is the best sample to show our stakeholders that we do understand what they express to us, that they convey to us. And as a response, we made these prototypes.
This is just the start, okay? What happens next will depend on you. And implementation is really key in any innovation efforts.
We are lucky enough that we have the public sector productivity to make it happen, to make this possible, because they are provided us with solutions to unlock this problem that our members, our stakeholders are encountering.
At Innovation Laboratory, we aim for a sustainable future of innovation. We believe that the possibilities are endless and that progress is a continuous cycle of growth.
It really applies real-life situation. We're in the office. We are really bound by time and pressure. So, pinaka-memorable sa akin are those mga 5 minutes, 10 minutes na activities wherein you have to give your all of your effort. Those ideas with the collaboration, nagiging innovative siya, and it will actually help me. Skill kasi siya na parang mas nakakatulong pa siya sa akin in the future na makakam up ako ng mga better ideas. So parang non-stop thinking and non-stop innovation.
I think it's very important because things are changing, specifically when it comes to the EODB law. Bootcamp makes government employees realize the value of innovation and how to make things easier for their clients.
The drive for innovation in the government will prepare our nation as we leap towards the future under a sound governance and future-fit leadership. Join us as we spread the culture of innovation. There is no other time but now.
Hello, welcome back everyone. I hope we are enjoying our coffee and okay pa po tayo as of this time. And still eager to learn more and hear from our speakers, our panel of reactors or panelists this afternoon. I just would like to hear po muna. Let us hear from our audience this afternoon. I'd like to say hello kay Ma'am Emmy Rose Rodriguez of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Hello, Ma'am Emmy. How are you?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. Kumusta po kayo ngayon? Are you reporting on site ngayon, ma'am?
No, ma'am. I'm working from home po.
Okay. So far naman, ma'am, anong masasabi niyo sa ating symposium this afternoon?
Sobra siyang informative.
Okay, that's very good, ma'am. At least sana makatulong po ito, ma'am, sa inyo as we continue to deliver efficient and effective public service sa ating mga citizens. Thank you very much, Ma'am Emmy, and stay
Also,
with us.
ma'am.
Yes, until the end. Meron ako nakitang from LGU, Odiongan. Hello, ma'am, sir. Kumusta po kayo? LGU Odiongan. Are you still with us? We'd love to hear from you. Okay, punta naman tayo sa South. Do we have participants from Zamboanga City? You may unmute your mic po if you'd like to speak. Buenos días a todos, vivientes de Zamboanga. Okay, in the Visayas, meron po ba tayong participants from Cebu or Bohol? I saw one participant from Kamsur. Magandang hapon po, and I hope you're still enjoying and learning a lot from this symposium. Okay, so I hope nakapag-relax na rin tayo a bit as we continue our presentations, the presentations of our speakers this afternoon. And after hearing about an approach to getting the satisfaction level of citizens and service attributes that are important across government agencies and LGUs nationwide, let us now hear what oversight agencies will say about the insights from the survey and how this information can be used to complement their efforts in improving design and delivery of frontline government service. Our first panel reactor who will discuss the topic, Oversight Agency for the Implementation of Results-Based Performance Management System, we have the opportunity to hear from 8888 Citizens Complaint Center. With us this afternoon is 8888 Citizens Complaint Center Director Bernadette B. Casinabe. Our speaker earned her bachelor's degree in psychology at the Assumption College in Makati and her nursing degree at the North Valley College Foundation in 2003. Her work experience in the private sector included travel industry operations, telecommunications, emergency, and critical care nursing. Her experience in government service began in 2016 when she served as executive assistant to the Department of Tourism Secretary. And she then continued her career as presidential staff officer in the 8888 Citizens Complaint Center, where she is now joyfully serving as director for. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Director Bernadette B. Casinabe. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. To Secretary Wendell Avisada, if you're still around, the President and CEO, Attorney Engelbert Caranan Jr., DAP Vice President, Mr. Arnel Abanto, officials, guests, fellow workers in government, and participants from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Good afternoon, mayang hapon sa tanan. First of all, I would like to thank the Development Academy of the Philippines for inviting the 8888 Citizens Complaint Center for us to be able to share how the 8888 performs its role in helping improve the delivery of government service. Okay. Next slide, please. So to start with, yes, ma'am. I will, next please. I will briefly walk you through the services of the 8888 Citizens Complaint Center. As stated in Executive Order Number 6, Series of 2016, the center was actually established to serve as a mechanism where citizens may report their complaints and grievances on acts of red tape and or corruption of any government agency, GOCC, government financial institutions, and other instrumentalities of the government. However, over time, the center also accommodated requests for assistance, mainly social services, due to the high volume of calls requesting for such. These are requests for assistance for hospital billings, education, housing, OFW repatriations, livelihood assistance, and others. The center can also now be reached through communication channels, through calls and SMS, or more popularly known as text messages. Both require only a 1 peso airtime cell phone load, but the call and SMS itself are free of charge. That is from anywhere in the Philippines. So we have a national coverage. The 24/7 service of the center is, however, on hold due to the pandemic. We are observing shortened operation hours for the meantime, operating from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., but still 7 days a week. Next slide, please. A brief run through of the accomplishments of 8888, recent accomplishments. Starting in September of 2020, the center has been sending monthly performance reports to heads of offices of all our partner agencies. These are the agencies which have 8888 portals or direct links with us. This monthly performance report serve as a report card of the agencies with regards to their performance, particularly compliance and resolution rates on concerns that we have referred to them. Later, I will show a sample of this for clearer understanding. Next, as we have been constantly monitoring the performance of the government agencies, we learned that a number of them have changed focal teams or the ones in charge of the 8888 portals due to retirement or change of functions or positions or reassignments or other reasons. And so we have invited them for reorientations to 8888 processes and the portal operations to encourage them to have improved performance. We have about 180 government offices or agencies that have 8888 portals. But recently we have had additional partner agencies. What about the rest, if you say, because it's just 180 and there are 1,000 or more government offices nationwide? Agencies or offices that don't have 8888 portals are simply referred to mother agencies because all main agencies or departments have an account with 8888. However, over time, some other agencies have requested 8888 to create own accounts for their regional offices or attached agencies due to the volume of concerns referred to them. Examples of these departments are the Department of Health, which requested accounts for all major hospitals throughout the country and their regional offices. The same goes for all DILG or the Department of Interior and Local Governments. That is why we have additional number of offices or agencies with 88 portals increasing over the years. And then the launching of the SMS, as I have mentioned earlier, the 8888 Center now offers two communication channels by which citizens may lodge their concerns, still free of charge. It was in November of 2020 last year when we fully launched the 88 SMS service to further expand its reach and encourage more people to voice their concerns. Just as a note, other communication channels are already in place, such as walk-in and emails, but this is being handled by another office still under the Strategic and Action Response Office of the Office of the Executive Secretary, and that is being handled by the Presidential Complaint Center, while 8888 handles calls and SMS. Okay. Lastly, we have delivered an unhampered delivery of service rather during the pandemic. In keeping with its promise of bringing the government closer to the people, even during the pandemic, the 8888 hotline and SMS continued to provide unhampered operations, serving as the bridge to inform concerned government offices of the concerns of many Filipinos at a time when citizens were encouraged to just stay at home. This despite challenges in health conditions and other restrictions in place, as we all throughout reported on site due to the confidentiality of information that we handle, and because of this, we couldn't afford to work at home. Next slide, please. This is our data for daily average handled calls or calls that we have assisted or answered. Okay? So as shown in the table, we have been receiving an increasing volume of calls over the years. From what we have observed, especially during ECQ and FCQ period, we received the highest volume, thus the increase. Can this be taken to mean that services have not improved and even became worse? I would say not necessarily, because later in succeeding slides, we will show you that calls we receive are varied. Not all are necessarily complaints, and the concerns raised by the citizens change consistently, mostly depending on current events and the president's pronouncements. So as you can see, starting in November to December 2017, we had only an average of 906 calls per day. In 2018, 1,492, increasing to 1,902 in 2019. In 2020, 2,086, and for the first 2 quarters of this year, we already averaged 2,307 daily. Next slide, please. Okay. This is we also have a client survey rating form. This is manually as a way of monitoring the services that we provide the public. Callers are randomly asked this survey at the end of their calls. It should be noted that the survey form measures interaction with our agents and not necessarily the resolution of their concern. Since the 8888 Center is to receive reports and ensure prompt action on this concern, but the resolution of that particular concern that was raised is still left to the government agency. Admittedly, this could have biased results. So we also have, we placed quality assurance measures in place wherein calls of our agents are regularly checked, and we seriously take and listen and review complaints that we receive with regards to complaints of callers with regards to interaction with our clients. And we use all of this to further improve our services. Next, please. This is the 8888 resolution rate, covering the period of November 3, 2017, the start of our operations under the Office of the President, up to May 31, 2021, as of May 31, 2021. From the start of its operations, the center referred a total of 448,105 tickets to different agencies, offices, or government offices, of which 80.03% have been acted upon. 9.50% is still being processed by different government agencies and offices, while 10.47% are still awaiting feedback. As stated in EO number 6, government agencies are given 72 hours upon their receipt of the ticket to provide 8888 a concrete and specific action on tickets referred to them. If this is not met, automatically the portal, the 8888 portal that they have, sends out a second endorsement for another 72 hours. Should there still be no concrete and specific action that they cannot inform 8888 of this, taken from these two endorsements, the ticket is subject to be forwarded to ARTA for appropriate action. Next slide, please. This is the breakdown of the nature of, that should read, sorry, I would like to correct that. That is a breakdown of nature of calls, okay, from November 3, 2017 to May 31, 2021. You can see here that the various kinds of calls we get on a daily basis, top of which is complaints against government regulations or processes or services, accounting to 168,314, followed by calls for claim, follow-up of claims, which is for GSIS or insurances and the like, total of 55,690. And as I mentioned earlier, high volume of calls have been received requesting for assistance, total of 42,297. There are also a lot of calls for concerns for OFWs, such as repatriation, follow-up of their benefits, requests for passport assistance, and so on and so forth, for a total of 39,769. But there is also a big number of complaints against government officials and employees for 32,813. Requests for assistance for employment or employment disputes, 22,716. For loans and other financial concerns, especially during the pandemic, during the bayanihan, when there was a lot of clarification requested on payment suspension. So 16,410. And then requests for assistance for medical needs such as hospitalization and medicine, 15,666. We also have a lot of comments and suggestions which we forward to appropriate agencies, which account for 11,848. Complaints against private individuals, 11,555. Though these are, we really do not cater to anything that would involves private individuals, but this this has something to do with either peace and order or safety, or we refer this matter to public assistance. Police assistance also, we have domestic problems, crime preventions, peace and order problems, 7,335. For legal matters, 7,298. Consumer concerns, load, internet, faulty, defective products, so that's 5,748. Miscellaneous matters, 5,295. Land or environmental concerns, 2,573. Fundings, 1,769. And housing concerns, 1,609. Next, please. This is a sample monthly performance report that I was talking about earlier. Okay. This is one actual MPR, or monthly performance report of a national government agency. This is the first of 3 pages of our monthly performance report. In this page, we break down the number of pending tickets for 2021 and if there are any backlogs in 2020 and previous years. This particular agency consistently receives one of the highest concerns we receive from callers, but it is not necessarily because of all our complaints, but it is another factor is because of the wide scope of services that it covers throughout the country. But we also say that they are one of the best performers in 8888, as their resolution rate is almost always at 100%, despite the huge volume of tickets referred to them. Hence, when we make reports or when asked which government agency receives the most complaints, we clarify that it would really depend because there are others who receive less than 100 tickets a month and act on only 10% or even less of that. So we would say that it is not just the volume of tickets that matter, but how the tickets act on it, how the agencies rather act on this ticket. Next, please. Okay. So this is the second page of the monthly performance report that we submit to the heads of offices. We show them the resolution rate on all tickets referred to them and the compliance to the 72 hours turnaround time and after. So you can see there that this agency has 0 unactive tickets. However, their compliance rate kind of dipped to 44.13%, because we could see that this particular agency's compliance was greatly affected since it was one of those who handled government's COVID-19 assistance program, hence the overwhelming number of tickets referred to them. Next slide, please. This is the third of the third and the last page that we provide to the agencies. We provide them a breakdown of the categories of the tickets referred to them. 8888 partners with government agencies, not just to ensure prompt action on concerns raised, but we also encourage the agencies to utilize the reports that we send them to help guide them on which specific category they need to improve on. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so before we end, we always encourage our partner offices, agencies, government offices and agencies to aim not just for a good resolution rate, but to solve actual problems. What we want to ask from them is to look beyond the numbers and reports, but to go for solving the actual or the root causes of the concerns, because only in that way can we reform the systems and processes in the bureaucracy and truly improve the delivery of services to the people. So with that, I end my presentation and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Daghang salamat, Director Bernadette, for sharing with us 8888's contribution in helping improve frontline service through citizens' complaint handling and your perspective on how government agencies can work together to meet citizens' expectation in frontline government service. Our second panelist or reactor is from the Governance Commission for GOCCs or GCG. She will highlight an oversight agency's role in getting information and customer satisfaction among GOCCs. Let us now hear the topic Oversight Agency for GOCCs to be given by Ms. Haina M. Rosal. Ms. Haina Rosal, or we simply call her Ms. Jaja, is a Corporate Governance Officer 5 of the Governance Commission for Government-Owned or Controlled Corporations, or GCG. She is the division head handling the review, monitoring, and evaluation of performance and relevance of the GOCCs under the trade, tourism, and gaming sector. Ms. Rosal has 13 years of experience in government service, having worked with the local government, a GOCC, and now with a national government. She is a graduate of MA Economics from the Ateneo de Manila University and BA Political Science from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all give a warm welcome to Ms. Jaja. Hello, Ms. Jaja, and welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Pilar. Thank you. And good afternoon to everyone. Virtual hi na lang for now. Hello. On behalf of Chairman Samuel Dagpin Jr. of the GCG, I would like to thank the Development Academy of the Philippines for inviting the GCG to this event and for giving us the opportunity to share initiative on monitoring customer satisfaction in the GOCC sector. So next slide, please. Here's the outline of my presentation. I will be discussing the rationale of GCG's Customer Satisfaction Initiative, the background and key features of the standard methodology for the conduct of CSS issued by the Governance Commission, the 2019 results of the CSS of GOCCs, the challenges we have encountered in the implementation of the CSS initiative as the oversight agency, and then what the GCG plans to do moving forward. So before I proceed with the presentation proper, let me first give a brief background about our agency. RA number 10149 created the Governance Commission for the Government-Owned or Controlled Corporations, or the GCG, as a central advisory, monitoring, and oversight body of government-owned or controlled corporations. RA 10149 was signed into law on June 6, 2011. So we just celebrated our 10th year anniversary last June. Very relatively young agency. So next slide, please. Mandates of the GCG include rationalizing GOCCs pursuant to the Ownership and Operations Manual for GOCCs. Included dyan yung reorganization, abolition, merger, or privatization of some GOCCs. And then shortlisting candidates for appointment to the boards of directors based on the fit and proper rule. And then performance monitoring and evaluation, which includes setting of targets and validation of accomplishments of the GOCCs. And then setting standards for compensation, incentives, and benefits. Next slide, please. So as of January 7, 2020, there are 119 active GOCCs under the coverage of the GCG. And these GOCCs are classified based on different sectors. We have government financial institutions, we have trade, area development and tourism, educational and cultural, gaming, energy and material sector, agriculture, fisheries and food, utilities and communications, healthcare, and realty and holding companies. So as you can see, very varied yung operations ng mga GOCCs. So yung mga customers na kinikater nila are also different, mix of business and individual customers na yan. So next slide, please. I will now proceed to the presentation proper. Under the Code of Corporate Governance of the GCG, the GOCC governing boards are required to ensure integrity and honesty in dealings with customers and operate a highly effective and efficient organization focused on meeting customer objectives with the aim of providing services which give fair value and consistent quality, reliability, and safety in return for the price paid for the same. And then operate policies of continuous improvement of both processes and skills of the staff to take best advantage of the advances in all aspects of society in order to ensure that it continues to add value to its customers' businesses. So next slide, please. So in relation to the provisions of the Code of Corporate Governance, the customer satisfaction was included. Next slide, please. So in relation to the provisions of the Code of Corporate Governance, The customer satisfaction was included as one of the performance indicators in the performance scorecard of GOCCs. The GCG, as part of our performance and monitoring mandate, we issue an annual scorecard to our GOCCs, and then it has 5 perspectives. So we measure yung social impact, financial, internal process, learning and growth, and then the stakeholders perspective. And doon included yung customer satisfaction measure. The CSS measure is important as the results of the CSS provides tangible and verifiable data on how GOCCs deliver their services. The inclusion of the CSS in the performance scorecard started in 2014. From 2014 to 2017, GOCCs were only required to hire a third-party service provider to conduct its CSS. So prior 2018, which I will later explain, GOCCs conducted the CSS using their own methodologies. So we included the measure, and then the GOCCs have the flexibility to conduct their own CSS. Kumbaga, kung ano yung, most of the time, kung ano yung ina-advise ni third party, yun yung susundin ni GOCC. So next slide, please. However, as an oversight agency, the absence of standard methodology proved difficult in validating the reports submitted. Furthermore, with varying methods employed in the conduct of the CSS, results can neither be consolidated nor compared among the GOCCs. So yung intent sana to come up with a single GOCC score, hindi namin siya magawa kasi magkakaibang methodology yung fina-follow ng mga GOCCs. So next slide, please. So in 2018, the Governance Commission issued the standard methodology for the conduct of the CSS with the corresponding prescribed questionnaire per GOCC. But the initiative to craft a standard methodology started in 2017 pa, because the GCG has a commitment to the Open Government Partnership, or OGP, if you're familiar with it. It's a multilateral initiative that aims to secure concrete commitments from governments to implement innovative programs on transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement. But anchored on the principle of continuous improvement, we issued the enhanced standard for the conduct of the CSS in 2019, applicable siya for the conduct of 2020 CSS na. Similar with the crafting of the initial guidelines and questionnaires, we hired experts on the field to guide us on improving the guidelines and the questionnaires, but nag-request na rin kami ng capacity building for our officers because we have to validate the report submitted to us. So we need technical capability for that. And then we also took consideration the feedback we gathered from the GOCCs when they did the initial rollout of the standard methodology. But sobrang daming feedback, but we have to balance yung role namin as an oversight agency and also the varying operations of the GOCCs. So nung 2020, because of the pandemic, we had to issue additional guidelines. For example, may features yung standard guidelines na if a GOCC has operations like may seasonality, so ibig sabihin may peak season siya and meron siyang lean season, that GOCC should conduct the survey biannual. But because of the pandemic nga, we had to forego that requirement na lang and then let the GOCC conduct the survey annual na lang. And also for some GOCCs na dapat yung methodology nila is intercept interview, ang ginawa na lang natin is they were given an additional option. Baka naman if they have the information of their customers, they can do na lang, not face-to-face interview, like they can do telephone interview na lang for health and safety considerations na din. So next slide, please. So I have mentioned earlier na may mga challenges of not having a standard methodology for the conduct of CSS, no? So to ensure, nag-issue kami ng standard methodology in 2018 to ensure that individual results of the GOCCs may be comparable and may be consolidated to determine the overall customer satisfaction score of the GOCC sector. So for example, when we have to report to the president kung ano yung level of customer satisfaction of the state of the customers of GOCCs, we can say a single customer satisfaction score, and we can report it to the president. And then to ensure that GOCCs utilize the CSS in harnessing and determining vital data and information on customer satisfaction. Kasi prior 2018, before the standard guidelines, since captured lang ng scorecard is the overall satisfaction score. And then, it was obvious from the reports na sinasubmit sa amin ng mga GOCCs na for compliance lang talaga because yun lang yung nire-report nila. Wala yung mga nami-mention na rin ng mga previous presentations on drivers of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So, hindi nila na-determine bakit ganito yung level of satisfaction nila. So, obvious na yung result ng CSS is not used to improve the services of a GOCCs. So, yun. Aside from these reasons, may mga practical side to it din kasi as mentioned din earlier, may cost to conduct a CSS and hindi din siya mura for most of the GOCCs, lalo na kung malaki yung operation. So, to lessen the cost, nag-issue na kami ng prescribed questionnaires. So, instead na additional deliverable siya for the third party na i-hire ng GOCC, at least meron na silang prescribed questionnaires na ready, which was issued by GCG. So, makakabawas na siya sa cost. And also, there are GOCCs na nagsasabi na mag-hire sila ng third party but they don't know kung anong hihingiin nila dun sa third party nila. Anong requirements para masabi nila na okay yung na-hire nilang third party. So, with the guidelines, mag-guide sila. Ano ba yung requirements na kailangan nilang hanapin sa isang third party? So, there. Next slide, please. Excuse me lang. So, key features of the GCG standard methodology. Dinetermine namin yung mga data gathering methods. Ano na, intercept interview ba, face-to-face interview, telephone interview, paano gawin yung sampling procedure, paano yung data collection. And ito yung vital, yung data collection quality control procedure kasi this ensures that the data gathered from the CSS is of highest quality possible. So meron tayong sinusunod na standards for that. And then on data processing, nandun na rin yung guidelines. Also, data collection instrument or yun na-mention ko kanina na prescribed questionnaire from the GCG. So it is issued per GOCC. And like the e-citizen satisfaction survey presented earlier, we're also using a 5-point Likert scale with 5 being very satisfied and 1 very dissatisfied. And for the purposes of GOCC scorecard nga, we get the percentage of customers who rated the GOCCs 5 and 4, which is very satisfied and satisfied. So we also provided additional questions nga to determine the drivers of satisfaction or dissatisfaction, which is more likely uniform across the GOCC. So ito yung mga top attributes which concerns yung facilities, personnel, website, complaints handling. Yung it doesn't matter kung anong operations ng GOCCs, but ito common for them. And then may mga differences on the questions kasi may specific questions on services and products offered ng GOCC since iba-iba yung operations nila and iba-iba din yung customers nila. Doon nagkakaiba ng questions. But yun yung minimum requirements for the questions in the questionnaire, but GOCCs are given the flexibility to add questions. So kung meron pa silang deeper or may iba pa silang na-determine na attributes na gusto nilang malaman yung level of satisfaction ng customers nila, they can ask the respondents. So we also included the analysis plan, and this serves as the basis for the preparation of the CSS final report. Nandito na yung details on ano bang mga analysis yung dapat content ng final report. So even if we're just including sa scorecard yung overall satisfaction score, when we do the review of the final report submitted to us, we check yung compliance or non-compliance with the guidelines. So this pushes the GOCC talaga to check ano ba yung mga drivers of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. So meron silang guide on how to improve their services moving forward. And as an oversight agency, nag-guide din kami on which part of the GOCC's operations we could focus on para ma-push namin sila to improve. Next slide, please. So I'll be presenting the 2019 CSS results. Yeah, the 2019 CSS results na. Because we're still currently validating the 2020 results, nagkaroon na rin ng delay on the submission of reports and start of the validation of the reports because of the pandemic na din. But once available, it will be posted on the GCG website, accessible to everyone. So in 2019, as an example, merong 74 GOCCs with performance scorecard. We were able to validate 72 GOCCs. Of the said number, 34 GOCCs were deemed compliant with the GCG standard methodology with an average score of 92.25% satisfied customers. And based on the consolidated data, because we set a minimum requirement of 80% across standard target siya for the GOCCs. So only 2 GOCCs failed to reach the minimum requirement of 80%, while 27 GOCCs were able to reach a score of at least 90%. So that's the result for 2019. We're also curious kung ano yung magiging result for 2020 as an impact of the pandemic, because of the pandemic. So what are the challenges? Next slide, please. We're currently facing. These are the three major challenges. As I've mentioned dun sa statistics kanina, non-compliance of GOCCs remain a major concern for us. Kasi yung most of the non-compliance, ang reasons are they're not following the data collection quality control procedures, may mga ganun. Yun yung isa sa major reasons, or yung sampling procedure hindi tama, kulang yung sample size, so hindi representative yung result na sinasubmit nila sa amin. There's still also, despite our effort to lower the cost of the conduct of the CSS, there's still budgetary constraints for some of the GOCCs, lalo na yung mga hindi masyadong revenue generating or yung maliit lang yung operations, and they can't set aside funds for the conduct of the CSS. So with this naman, we allow the GOCCs, with the guidelines kasi, they can self-administer the survey, but they still have to hire a third party to analyze the data they have gathered. So yun naman yung just to lower the cost pa din. And wala naman kaming accredited na third party for the analysis of the results, so they can commission parang mga universities to do the analysis for them. And also the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, since may impact siya sa operations, consequently, may impact din siya sa pag-conduct ng CSS. So, next slide please. Way forward, as with everyone, kami din to consider the impact of the pandemic to the GOCC's operations, and we also want to see the impact of the COVID to the conduct of the CSS itself. Siyempre, katulad ng ginawa ng DAP, na-lessen na. Kung before face-to-face yung data gathering, ngayon online na lang. So we have to consider various options din to improve our methodology. And also to improve, for example, yung prescribed questionnaire na meron kami, to consider yung mga top attributes na na-determine kanina ng DAP, like for yung focus on health, safety, and security, we can add that as a mandatory question to the questionnaire. So we can look at it, and then we can also refer to the results of the e-CitSat, yung other dimensions of the report, so we can incorporate our current the result to our current initiative. So that's all for the GCG. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Jaja, for sharing with us GOCC's initiatives on service improvement related to measuring satisfaction level and gathering service feedback. Very valuable po yung mga inputs ninyo, and we appreciate our participants who are keying in their questions via our Zoom chat box, and yung mga participants din natin sa YouTube. If may mga tanong po kayo, pwede niyo na pong i-type sa ating comment box dyan sa YouTube para mamaya we can consider them as much as possible, lahat ng mga questions natin. Our last but certainly not the least panelist or reactor will talk about a very important aspect of this discussion: the urgency of working together from the perspective of citizens. This will be delivered by Attorney Andrea Lizares C. Attorney Andrea C. has been an advocate for women's rights and a well-respected civil society leader in Negros Occidental. After placing sixth in the bar exams, she practiced law from 1987 to 2001 when she accepted appointment as Bacolod City Administrator from 2001 to 2004. A member of the board of family corporations. Engaged in real estate and hospitality, she is currently the president of the Negros Occidental Girl Scout Council and the chair of the Provincial Council for Women. Attorney Andrea, we are now very excited and eager to hear about the urgency of meeting citizens' expectations in frontline government service delivery during this new normal. Attorney Andrea, welcome.
Hello.
Hello,
Wow.
ma'am.
Okay.
Maayong adlaw.
So, shall I start to our distinguished and hardworking officials and representatives of government agencies? Good afternoon. As was mentioned, I've been an advocate for women's rights, and actually for more than 30 years now, I've been working with in partnership with Government for Women. And now, in all those years, there have been ups and downs in the quality of government service, but I have always found reason to believe that government will never be without competent women and men who are sincerely committed to serve. That's why it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. All right. So I am privileged to represent the private sector, the citizen we have been talking about, in the company of committed government servants who are in positions to make government more effective and efficient. So let me now share with you how I see the citizen satisfaction rating, how this initiative can help to meet expectations of citizens in frontline government service, especially during the new normal, and opportunities for government and citizen collaboration that can be explored, and of course, the next steps. So can we go to the next slide? Here, I prepared a chart just to be able to compare the ratings for 2018 and 2020. And as you will see, for some clusters in it's not the citizen satisfaction, but it's actually business, no? So this is true for economic employment and licensing, which was for business in 2018 or 2019, and also for LGUs. But here you see how social welfare was only social welfare in 2018, whereas in 2020, it already includes health, which of course gave us the biggest burden for government, the front service, no? And so it's not really surprising, nagbaba, no? A very big decrease. Also for LGUs, like LGUs were hit, bang, like when this pandemic came, what LGU was prepared. And so this is a big requirement in terms of finances, in terms of frontline services, and nobody was prepared. So it's not surprising really that the LGU satisfaction went down, although we're comparing this with business in 2018. One thing that I've noticed, maybe LGU dissatisfaction could also arise from a perception by many that what they were receiving as ayuda was not exactly what had been appropriated for them. So perceptions of corruption can really affect the satisfaction of citizens. But overall, going down, no, even to 20%, that's still, I think, good, no, overall. So I think we're still doing a good job. We should look at is that the 2020 ratings should serve as a baseline that will allow us to improve our services for the coming months and years. So the next slide. Okay, so what can I say about the grade that the government got from the citizens and the top expectations of the citizens as gathered from the research? So I don't know if the LGUs or the participants here were surprised by the ratings, but seem to be fair enough. And also the list of top expectations is more or less accurate based on my experience. So with the pandemic, government was faced with the movement, restrictions, and unprecedented demand for frontline services, especially for LGUs, social welfare, health, OFWs. So it's not surprising that there was a big drop in the ratings for these. But again, it could have been worse. So the new normal for me highlights the need to minimize face-to-face interactions and waiting time, and to use websites, social media, and telephones more effectively. So the second question, how do you see this initiative of the Government Quality Management Program in measuring whole of government satisfaction level and setting service standards to meet expectations of citizens in frontline government service, especially during the new normal? It was mentioned earlier that our different agencies and LGUs have used a variety of assessment tools, no, for citizen satisfaction and efficiency. And so these are great. Important is that these tools are reflected on and made and used, no, to rethink our policies, strategies, procedures, requirements, etc. And when necessary, make the revisions in collaboration with end users. The following questions are all about collaboration, and I would also like to see that, because what I saw when in the COVID response was always government effort with very little participation of private sector, especially of women, although women make up most of the frontliners for social welfare and for health. So the collaboration, no, it's a good thing that the questions were geared to ask, no, about collaboration. Next. Third question, what specific or general opportunities for collaboration can be explored by the government in general to work together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service? So governments cannot take it for granted that the services that they are offering are the services that citizens need. I don't think that needs to be said, really. But as I said, the kulang yung private sector involvement. No? So it was everything from the top. A good thing that the local governments had the chance to feed back to the national government. We feel that we need the MECQ and not just lighter or no. We feel that we need more restrictions instead of less. So, but see the women and the private sector where as far as I know, not represented in making these decisions, and also in planning the restrictions and how the help would be given. So it is necessary to enhance citizen engagement and ensure public involvement at every stage of the policy cycle, from shaping ideas to designing, delivering, and monitoring services. So our survey focuses on the satisfaction of citizens, but I do not get from it that there was really an effort to get from citizens themselves what kind of services they need, not just the quality or how the services are developed, but what kind of policies and services are really needed. So the culture of government must be transformed so that citizens are seen as partners who can shape and inform policy and services, and not just be recipients of these services. Next slide. Continuation, specific and general opportunities for collaboration. The local government code provides for the creation of special bodies that should be working with local governments. And in the past years, at least in our place, it seems that the representation and the participation of citizens in these bodies are merely token. They don't really have a voice. They're always overpowered by the barangay captains and by the politicians. So I would like to see the empowering of citizens in these local bodies. And here in Negros Occidental, we also have a provincial council for women led by civilians, although we have some who are working in local government, but it's citizen-led. And we feel that councils like this, sectoral councils, can be very effective in helping the local government to develop policies and programs that would be relevant to the needs of citizens. Then an opportunity that has become very clear during this pandemic is how modern communications technology can be used to open direct lines of communication between citizens and government. So the government should make better use of websites and social media to solicit and receive timely suggestions and to get feedback on services needed and the quality of services. Government should also harness the power of citizens' ideas and the people behind them, also to build open, transparent, and trust-based relationships with citizens, enabling a culture that supports collaboration and innovation. Next. So the last question, possible next steps. This is hard. It's more like a brainstorm. So I was thinking, and it has also been mentioned that the service standards and on the results of the surveys should be popularized, not just within government, but also for citizens. It will be good to post these in government offices so that the frontliners and citizens themselves will know what they have a right to expect, and government can be held accountable when it fails to meet these expectations. I read that it is important also to get the service frontliners to collaborate with civil society in identifying the service standards and the procedures and the measures that should be taken, because they're actually the ones who giving the service, and yet they are not consulted perhaps that often. So I think it would be help also for them to be able to give better service if they are consulted about these things. Then finally, since I've seen the website of DAP and all the trainings that are there, I was wondering if agencies like DAP can offer training programs to empower citizens so that they can collaborate more effectively with government. And with this new empowerment, they will be able to require transparency and accountability from government, whether local government or the national government agencies. So I hope DAP can make training programs also for private citizens, civil society leaders. All right. So the last slide really is just take-home thoughts to take home. Declining citizen satisfaction goes hand in hand with the erosion of public trust and increasing costs associated with ineffective and inefficient government service. So concerted efforts to gain citizen satisfaction during the new normal will result in government service that we can all be proud of. And so the last slide says, teamwork makes the dream work. So again, calling attention to the partnership between government and the private sector. And thank you very much to all the participants. Your hard work today and in your work in government is very much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Attorney Andrea. And thank you also for citing that government can be held accountable when they don't meet citizen expectations. And for a very good suggestion, maybe the government can come up with a website where we can post all the results of these citizen satisfaction surveys that are being conducted yearly. And also, regarding your comment, if DAP can provide also training programs to the private sector. Ma'am, yes, the AP also provides specific or customized training programs for certain agency or certain private organizations or for specific sectors and organizations of the country. Okay, so you just talk to us, Ma'am Andrea, kung meron tayong gustong i-customize na mga or develop na mga programs. Okay, so we'd be glad to work with you. Ika nga po, sabi niyo, teamwork makes the dream work. Okay? And so, I'm sure maraming questions ang ating mga participants in Zoom and YouTube. Please just key in your questions because it might be considered later on sa ating Q&A portion. Okay, thank you once again, Attorney Andrea, for sharing your thoughts on the initiative of the Government Quality Management Program in measuring whole of government satisfaction level and setting service standards that could help meet expectations of citizens in frontline government service, especially during the new normal. A big thanks to our three panelists, reactors, to our speaker, and to our speakers. And let us all please give them a virtual clap, okay? Gamitin po natin itong reaction dito sa Zoom and pwede din po sa YouTube. However you'd like to express your reaction to our speakers and panelists. And now the next highlight of our symposium is the question and answer portion to give you an opportunity to find out more about specific points presented and also a chance for you to express your questions, comments, observations, experience, and difficulties you encounter connected to the topics discussed. Kindly type these in the chat box and comment box. We will try to entertain all the questions and comments as time permits. And as we mentioned earlier, should you like to speak to ask a question, kindly raise your hand to be acknowledged, unmute your mic, and turn on your cameras when your bandwidth permits, because we'd like to see your faces and your reaction as you deliver the question. And our speakers and reactors will give their responses and comments alternately during the question and answer. Our moderator who will facilitate the Q&A will give the synthesis of the discussion is Associate Project Officer of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Miss Jasmine San Juan or Miss Jazz. Hello, Miss Jazz. Kumusta po kayo?
Hello, Rika.
Hello, ma'am.
All right. So we are now in the question and answer portion. Good afternoon, everyone. So let's have a quick question and answer due to the time right now. We have a question from Region 2, Trauma Center, PMR Christian Aldrin Conrad Ginto. His question is, what's the greatest impact that made Mindanao to have better customer satisfaction than that of Luzon and Visayas? Maybe we could have a quick response from Ms. Nika or Sir Arnel.
Hello, Jess. Can you hear me?
Yes, po.
Okay. Thank you for that question. If we will look at the scores as a result of the citizen satisfaction, the Mindanao scored higher because of the short queue time during transaction, fairness of treatment, and getting what they need and having polite frontliners. Ito yung mga service attributes na humila pataas sa customer satisfaction ng Mindanao Island Group. And I would like to take this opportunity na rin, no? Kasi there's a question about what are the hindrances of the frontline services in an LGU. Kasi sa Mindanao, LGU rin siya. No? And why is it the lowest among all the government agency? When we probe further dun sa results, it boils down to the fact that primarily, the frontliners, especially during the crisis, ay ito yung mga LGUs, no? And unfortunately, for some, they were unprepared for this, especially in delivering timely service. The nature pa naman ng mga transaction that the transacting public were securing is like they're securing for a permit so that a member of the household can go out to buy essentials, and the long wait for the SAP or the ayuda. And so it's it also included yung LGU's response for health-related services. So again, it boils down to timeliness. And interestingly, even if we compare it with Canada, yung results ng Canada, the municipal level got the lowest movement in terms of satisfaction level. So we're just, sabi nga ni Attorney C, it's not surprising at all. because it's really a challenging time. And if we are not prepared for it, then we will have this kind of difficulties. Hopefully, wag naman sana, but if there's a crisis again, we'll be more prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nika, for that quick answer. Also, another question po from the Zoom meeting room from SSS user. This question can be answered by Ms. Jaja because it asks, may we know who are these GOCCs who passed and failed? Let's hear from Ms. Jaja. What will be the response?
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, SSS. For the 2019 results, if you, medyo mahaba kasi no, I've mentioned kanina 34, so time consuming kung i-list down pa natin. But all the individual results of the GZG validation is posted in our website. So machi-check nila. I just checked SSS results. Kasama sila sa pumasa ng 2019.
Okay.
For 2020, validation is still ongoing.
All right. Thank you for that information. It's really a useful tool to have websites for these results. All right. Another from this time, let's get a question from the YouTube from Mr. Joseph Oxtero. Is there a new circular on how to go about getting a satisfaction score for government offices? So anybody from the panel or from the DAP? As we heard a while ago, the efforts to get citizens' feedback is aligned from government regulations and directives. So would you like to add more on this matter from our presenters? Okay, maybe Ms. Rika can acknowledge if anybody from the panel would like to give a comment on this about government legislation in getting citizens' feedback.
Yes, I'm just looking at the question, Ma'am Jazz. Can we ask for a website for a new satisfaction survey for government agency? Okay, or is there a new circular on how to go about in getting a satisfaction score? I think this is the question.
Yes.
In getting a satisfaction score for government offices. Okay, is there anyone from our speakers who can give us an answer? Sir Arnel, perhaps, is the best person to give us a feedback regarding this question. Sir Arnel?
I haven't heard any such circular except that if you're concerned about the PBB guidelines, it's indicated there. For the GOCCs, I believe GCG made an issuance, and as reported, it's expected across GOCCs under the GCG. So outside of that, I haven't heard of any new circular pertaining to that. Thank you.
Okay, Sir Joseph, thank you for your question.
All right, thank you for that. Also, the citizen satisfaction survey information would also give us additional information on the circulars that where the questions were based. Okay, from our participant from the YouTube, Mr. Reynaldo Cadelinia from CHRMO LGU Tagum. This is an interesting question, maybe can be answered by Sir Arnel or Ms. Nika. May we know if part of your program is capacity building in regulatory input analysis, time and motion analysis, and service quality standard audit? Thank you. This is a good question. Sir Arnel or Ms. Nika?
Yeah, that's very interesting. No? Part of the plan is really to develop some possible interventions to help the agencies in setting up their service quality standards, and interventions related to streamlining, service process improvements. I think these are already available. There are training programs available on this, and some technical guidance as well. We are also extending some assistance to the agencies in doing their regulatory impact assessment and that is to build some confidence that in regulation making process, there are tools to consider or approaches or good regulatory practices that can be adopted by the agencies to make the regulatory interventions more effective and more efficient. So if you're interested in this, probably through the secretariat, we can discuss the details of these available packages or service packages of the Academy. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So there are available interventions and programs for that. There's a good comment here from Mr. Jerry Kutamora from DepEd Maasin City Division Region 8. This is about quality management system. He said, quality management system should be cascaded to the employees from their respective offices on IEC on quality management system. So earlier we saw the quality management system framework where the citizen satisfaction surveys are important input and also an indicator if QMS is working well in NGAs or LGUs. Maybe Sir Arnel or Ms. Nika could give their thoughts or comments about this comment also.
Yeah, that's very true. Employee participation is an important expectation requirement in terms of to effectively implement the quality management system. And we have to make sure that everybody is aware of the QMS. If you will notice, under the new version of the standard, following through the key principles of QMS, if we are able to implement the system throughout the organization, we are approximating the implementation of total quality management system. In the previous versions of the standard, of course, you can implement the system in one office or in to cover a particular process. By that approach, it limits the opportunity to gain much from the QMS. But if you are able to implement this throughout the agencies, as we have been advocating through the government quality management program, it would really need an effective communication system for everybody to participate and understand their roles in translating information or feedback from the customers and making use of that information to make adjustments in terms of service processes and adjusting their procedures and so on. That way, our customers will be delighted with the efforts and participation of everybody in the organization. Hopefully, the outcome of the QMS should not only be realized by the transacting public, but we are also envisioning that for an effectively functioning QMS, we in the government should be very proud in working with agencies that adheres to quality management principles. Because at the end of the day, quality is not only for our customers or external customers, it is also important for our internal customers in the organization. So that's it. Thank you, Jas.
All right, so communication is important in the improvement efforts of government design and service delivery. Going back to complaints handling, we heard about it from Ms. Director Bernabe. There's a question here from Teresa Ralios. If you would like to have a response or observation or reply to this, it said, what particular government agency had most of the complaints through 888?
Thank you, ma'am. As I mentioned earlier, we just do not answer which government agency has the most complaints against 8888 because there are many factors involved. Some of the factor would be is it a national agency or is it just an LGU? Because the number of complaints would really vary. So it would be unfair for me to name one government agency that has the highest complaint when it actually is a national agency. So what we do is we also take into account the resolution factor for these offices. So that includes the resolution and compliance rate that we provide them. What I could say right now is that in general, as a given, those with most complaints are national agencies, of course, because of the scope of services they offer. I won't name them one by one, lest it be misconstrued. Okay, so but those who have the least resolution rates, actually, even if they have less complaints, but they also are least cooperative, I would put it that way, are some municipalities and local government units.
All right, we have heard it from the 888 Citizens Complaint Center. Thank you, Director Bernadette. Now, going back to service standards, this is also mentioned in one of the responses in the online registration, and it's a very valuable point of this symposium also. So we would like to address this and have hear from the thoughts of our speakers. Briefly, what are your key suggestions on how to upgrade service standards? Maybe from Sir Arnel or Ms. Nika?
Okay, briefly, we have to consider the feedback from our customers when we set up the minimum standards. Of course, we have to examine the results and the practice of these minimum service quality standards. And based on the results that we're getting, we can make some adjustments in the standards. The problem that we would like to avoid here is that as we improve our services, it is very possible that the rate at which we are able to make some improvements should be able to cope up with the changing needs and expectations of the transacting public. Whenever we gather this feedback from the citizens or from the customers, we have to ensure that actions to address the root cause or make some improvements in terms of our service delivery standards, it should be fast enough so that we will always be able to ensure that we are meeting the changing expectations of the transacting public. If we are rather slow in this area, chances are the gap between perception and expectations will be wider. And that will be a very difficult situation for the agency to cope up with the rapidly changing expectations of the transacting public.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Nika would like to add on that.
Yeah, thank you, Jess. Thank you, Sir Arnel. Yeah, also in upgrading service standards, no, as mentioned by Sir Arnel, you have to go back to measurement, and also we need to seek yung customer feedback. No, we need to understand their needs, experiences, and even pain points. No, yung complaints. It's also very necessary kasi it's an indication that the citizens are being heard, and you can gain a lot of ground in the area of trust. And also we need to train our frontliners. It's sad to say that when we conducted this in 2018, we heard about stories that our frontliners, they never attended any training related to service improving their service delivery. You know, so I think it's for our government frontliners to really address the expectation of our citizens. They should also have the competency to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Arnel, and thank you, Ms. Nika. So this is a very interesting exchange, but we have time limitations, and so we will now have a last question. If anybody from the Zoom meeting room is raising their hand, maybe one last question from the Zoom meeting room. If anybody would like to unmute and speak and raise their question, or that could be our last question about the discussion on upgrading service standards, because that is our goal, to improve services through enhanced service standards. All
Ma'am
right.
Jazz? Ma'am Jess,
Yes.
there's just a manifestation here from one of our participants, Miss Marilu Herrera Binanitan. I think this is a good feedback po from a fellow public servant and at the same time, a client of the government services. Ito po yung kanyang statement, ma'am. Hello, good afternoon po. I think this goes to all of us, for all of us. Please check po or monitor the website of all government agencies. Most of the times, outdated ang telephones and email. At di sila nag-answer ng queries, especially agencies that deal with clearances. Thank you and keep safe po. So yan ma'am, from Ma'am Marilu Herrera Binanitan. Thank you very much for that feedback po.
Thank you, Miss Marilu. All right. Thank you for the responses of our presenters and reactors and the insightful questions and comments from the audience. Moving forward, let us proceed with the integration of the discussions. This afternoon, what are the highlights of our discussion? So what can we take away when we go back to our offices? There are 3 points, or it can be summed up into 3 things. One is metrics. So first, measurement is important. Getting to know what attributes of frontline government service really matter to citizens. Not just that they are happy about it, but it's important to them. So we would also like to measure our service performance based on international customer citizen satisfaction models, consider government trusts, laws, and regulations, and more importantly, actual citizens' feedback. That would form the part of measurement on how we deliver services. And the second, we have heard a lot about action, translating data on citizen satisfaction scores, key drivers of citizen satisfaction, service attributes that are important from the point of view of the transacting public, complaints and other feedback from citizens, not only those in the capital, but also citizens outside the capital, translating information from them into a set of service quality standards and priorities for improving service design and delivery, incorporating them in the actual service processes. And third is collaboration. We have heard much about this, especially from the representative from the private sector. So continuous collaboration is needed in the service quality standards journey on the part of oversight agencies, among national government agencies and local government units, and within agencies and offices to use metrics to improve, to promote a culture of service excellence, and to keep pace with local and international developments in citizen-centered approaches to measuring and improving frontline service delivery and continually improving in the face of current and emerging challenges, as well as disruptions that may happen in the future. So those are the 3 things: metrics, action, and collaboration. So we have much to do when we go back home. Back to you, Ms. Rica.
Maraming salamat, Miss Jazz, for sharing with us those 3 key points or integration of this afternoon's symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that everyone is enjoying this productive and is learning a lot in this symposium. We are almost at the end, but the discussion just gets more and more interesting. Thank you, speakers and panelists, for generously sharing your expertise and experience. It is now 4:17 p.m. and with our limited time, we now come to the close of our symposium. To formally end this program, let us listen to the Senior Vice President for Programs of the Development Academy of the Philippines, Ms. Magdalena L. Mendoza. Hello, Ma'am Dedeng.
Yeah. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you are loud and clear.
Okay, let me just adjust. Thank you very much, Rika. Good afternoon to everyone, and most especially to our distinguished guest, DBM Secretary Wendell Avisado, President Engelbert Caronan of the AP, our panelists and reactors, Ms. Rosal, Director Casinabe, and Attorney Lizares C., are very energetic participants, and to those viewing this second GQMP Symposium online. Thank you for your very engaging questions, your insights and reactions. Thank you for making this afternoon very productive. In this short period of time, we are able to truly appreciate the value of listening to the voice of the citizens, even though it is through electronic means, and the importance of establishing quality standards for frontline services of the government. How can we do that? We are happy because we are reminded by no less than DBM Secretary Wendell Avisado that in designing the best citizen experience, everyone in the government should be imbued with a citizens first mindset. And so we wish that all of you and the whole of government will maintain this focus on the citizens in the delivery of the essential services of the government. On occasions such as this, we experience a sense of community as we work hand in hand with key actors to discuss how we can adapt and excel in our work with the highest standards of personalization, choice, efficiency, quality, and integrity in every interaction and transaction with the public. After all, our goal is to listen and socialize in order to have shared context, whether through gatherings such as this or through the seemingly simple yet insightful citizen satisfaction surveys. A proof of this is the almost 1,000 participants, 1,000 people working in government who are virtually connected this afternoon and who I believe are more than convinced that it is about time that we establish and maintain service quality standards in government, since the public deserve no less. After hearing the presentations, I am reminded of a quote from Mahatma Gandhi on who is the customer or the client or the citizen in the case of the public sector. He said, and let me quote, I modified this quote, that the citizens are the most important visitors in our premises. They are not dependent on us. We are dependent on them. They are not an interruption of our work. They are part of it. We are not doing them a favor by serving them. They're actually doing us a favor by giving us the opportunity to do so. End of quote. I hope you share the belief that we in the government are somehow privileged to have that opportunity to serve the people. Truly, as mentioned by President Caronan, this activity is a step in the right direction to forge synergy among all of us so we in the public sector can do better. The COVID-19 pandemic is forcing us to rethink our ways of doing things, to reform our service delivery systems, to go digital, and to shape an agile government. We have a unique opportunity from today to pursue that track. We had excellent speakers and panel reactors who shared their expertise and vast knowledge on the approaches and benefits of a whole of government approach to discover the extent of citizens' satisfaction on public services. The opportunity lies in imagining a future where the public sector does not just meet the explicit needs of citizens or what the government perceives they need, but is proactively finding out their frustrations and their unexpressed needs and preferences. I believe this future is attainable, but it requires all of us working together in the front lines to improve, to innovate, and deliver our best. And so I encourage you to share the findings and your takeaways from this symposium with your colleagues. For all you know, your insights from the presentations may be very valuable for two reasons. The first one, in preparing the service delivery standards for the functions, programs, and services that the national government agencies will transfer to the local government units with the implementation of the Mandanas ruling, which will pursue the full devolution of basic services. Having the service delivery standards is one of the requirements for these agencies to submit as part of devolution transition plans. And secondly, maybe this is more interesting to some of you, it is because the citizen satisfaction results, which includes the result of the citizen satisfaction surveys and the resolution of the 8888 or CCB complaints, will now be an important condition for government agencies and employees to qualify for the performance incentives in 2021. Earlier, there was a question on this subject. Please check the most recent guidelines on the performance-based bonus that was issued by the AO25, and this is MC 2021-1, dated June 3, 2021, specifying the requirements in conducting the citizen or client satisfaction surveys for national government agencies. Let us all work in partnership with the Government Quality Management Program, or the GQMP, and the DAP as the National Productivity Organization of the Philippines, in collaboration with the private sector and civil society, in elevating the quality of governance in our country and help restore trust and confidence of the public. Please join me in thanking our organizers, the Productivity and Development Center, for assembling a very interesting program and for the excellent arrangements so that we can all benefit from this program. Salamat po sa inyong pagdalo at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat. Thank you very much, Ma'am Dedeng. And thank you everyone for attending this symposium. It has been a wonderful learning experience with you all. We would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all of our speakers, panelists, and especially to you, dear participants. Kayo po ang ating or tayong lahat na narito ay mga lingkod bayani. Maraming salamat mga kapwa lingkod bayani for your presence, understanding, and above all, for your active participation in this symposium. Moreover, thank you too to our moderator, Ms. Jasmine, for your facilitation of the discussions. And at this point of the session, we would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation and tokens to our panelists and reactors. The certificate reads as follows. The Development Academy of the Philippines awards this Certificate of Appreciation to the panelists for their invaluable contribution in the second GQMP Symposium on Institutionalizing Service Quality Standards, working together to meet citizens' expectations in frontline government service, given this 8th day of July 2021. Signed, Attorney Engelbert C. Caronan Jr., President and Chief Executive Officer, Development Academy of the Philippines, and member GQMC. May we call on our panelists? First panelist, we'd like to call on Ms. Bernadette D. Casinabe. Let's give her a virtual clap.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next. Our second panelist, Miss Haina M. Rosal.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Jaja. And our last but not the least panelist, Attorney Andrea Lizares C.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the team that put together this symposium.
Yes, maraming salamat uli po sa inyong ating mga panel reactors, and we hope you can join us in our future symposium here in DAP. As of this time, a total of 803 participants have logged their attendance. Ang breakdown po nito, there are about 315 from NGAs, 137 from LGUs. This is across the country. We have 11 from SUCs. We have 338 participants from the GOCC and 2 from the private sector. Please take note, ladies and gentlemen, that our attendance will close at 6 p.m. today. So para po sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-sign in sa ating attendance, please do so before 6 o'clock p.m. And right now, we are going to have a gallery picture. And I'd like to turn you over to Daniel. Daniel, he will facilitate our class picture for today. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Ma'am Nika. Yes, ma'am. So we have a total of 4 screens for the photo session, no? So we ask everyone, please turn on your cameras. I hope you've already touched up your appearances, fixed your hair, maybe fixed your clothes. All right, let me check first if everyone has turned on their cameras already. Okay, we're waiting for more people to turn on their cameras. Yes. Please join us, everyone. Please don't be shy because pics or didn't happen, okay? So everyone, we will be giving you just maybe under a minute for an opportunity to turn on your cameras. Let's see here. We have 2 screens so far, 2 screens worth of people turning on their cameras. Ayan po mga ma'am and sir. Marami silang naka-on na ang camera. So anyone else would like to join us? Okay, I'm seeing more people here joining us in our photo taking session. Ayan. More and more people are joining. So please forgive me, please bear with us as you hold your smiles, but please don't forget to breathe, okay? Ayan po. More and more people are still joining. Thank you so much. Okay, this is a one-time opportunity now for today. So, okay, let's begin. And please do take note also na after I've taken a photo or a screenshot of the Zoom meeting, please don't turn off your cameras just yet. Okay? Now, let's prepare. So please put on your best smiles. Everyone, smile.
Okay, smile. Let's keep smiling.
And keep smiling, yes.
Yes, we are 800 here today.
More smiles, please. You may change your pose so that you don't grow tired of the smile.
Positive vibes.
Okay. Yes, and that tired my facial muscles so well. Okay, thank you so much for participating. And now back to you, Ma'am Rika.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And also, once again, to our speakers and panelists and our guests, everyone who joined us in Zoom and YouTube, maraming salamat po. Rest assured that all of you who attended the symposium, either through the Zoom platform or YouTube live streaming, will be issued an e-certificate based on the registration, the online attendance form, and accomplishment of the event and speakers evaluation forms that will be provided by the DAP team. You can see on your screen right now the link to our evaluation form. This is also posted in the chat box and the comment box po ng YouTube. Please access the evaluation form using the link shown on the screen and on the chat boxes. And this evaluation form will be closed by close of office hours tomorrow at 5 o'clock tomorrow. July 9, 2021. That is Friday. So dapat po i-accomplish natin siya as much as possible or the soonest possible time. Thank you very much, everyone. And this concludes our symposium. For those who are at home, please continue to follow health protocols. Stay at home as much as possible. And for those naman po sa ating mga lingkod bayani na ngayon ay naka-report on-site sa kanilang mga offices, please observe proper social distance, wear your face mask, and your face shields when you go out. Please don't forget also to regularly wash your hands when you arrive home. Spend a beautiful time, wonderful time with your families, and do not forget to read God's Word, the Holy Scriptures. Once again, everyone, maraming salamat. Stay safe and healthy. You may now turn on your mics, turn on your mic and unmute your mic and turn on your cameras. If you'd like to say hello and hi to your colleagues, yung mga taga Mindanao na may mga office mates in Luzon and Visayas, you may feel free to greet each other. Thank you. Buenas tardes to those in Zamboanga City. Maayong adlaw to those in Davao, Cebu, and the rest of the Philippines. Take care.
Maraming salamat po sa mga reactors, panelists natin.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, everyone po. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Ingat po tayong lahat.
See you sa next symposium. Thank you po.
Thank you po. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you po. We will be closing the